I was wiping bourbon off a marble counter when I heard the words that would rewrite my entire existence. "Who touched you?" His voice cut through the club's music like a blade through silk. I didn't look up. I'd learned years ago that men like Vincent Marchetti didn't ask questions they didn't already know the answers to. But when his hand caught my wrist, Yorian, when his thumb traced the fingerprint bruises I'd hidden under foundation and long sleeves, something in his eyes shifted from cold calculation to something far more dangerous. Protection laced with possession. 20 minutes later, my ex-boyfriend's name was being whispered in every dark corner of the city. And I realized that the most dangerous thing wasn't what Vincent could do to my enemies. It was what he was already doing to my heart. I thought I was careful. I'd spent 3 years perfecting the art of invisibility. How to move through a room without drawing eyes. How to smile just enough to seem pleasant but not enough to invite conversation. How to make myself so small that men like the ones who filled Vincent Marchetti's club every night would look right through me like I was made of glass. The bruises helped with that. People don't look too closely at broken things. It was a Tuesday, which meant the club was only half full. Businessmen nursing whiskey, couples on dates they'd regret in the morning, the occasional regular who treated the place like a second living room. I preferred Tuesdays. Fewer people meant fewer hands reaching for me, fewer voices calling me over, fewer moments where I had to remember how to be a person instead of a shadow. I was wiping down the marble bar, real marble, because everything in Marchetti's was real, was expensive, was a reminder that some people lived in a different world than the rest of us. When I felt it, that prickle on the back of your neck, that means someone's watching. Not the casual observation of a customer waiting for a refill, but the weight of real attention, focused and unrelenting. I didn't look up. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. The music was low tonight, jazz piano that seemed to echo off the dark wood paneling and crystal chandeliers. Sinatra, I think, or maybe Chet Baker. Something old and melancholy. The kind of music that made you feel like you were living in a black and white film where everyone smoked cigarettes and spoke in double entendres, another bourbon sweetheart. The voice belonged to a regular, Jim or John or maybe Jack. I never bothered learning their names. I poured the drink with my eyes on the bottle, slid it across the bar without making contact, and turned away before he could say anything else. That's when my sleeve caught on the speed rail. It happened so fast. 1 second I was reaching for the top shelf whiskey, the Pappy Van Winkle that cost more per ounce than I made in an hour, and the next my sleeve was riding up my arm, exposing the landscape of my shame. Purple blooming into yellow, finger-shaped constellations that marked me as someone's property, someone's punching bag, someone's mistake. I yanked the fabric down so hard I heard the seam tear, but it was too late. Across the room, in the booth that no one else dared approach, Vincent Marchetti had seen. I'd served him 100 times over the past 3 months, maybe more. He came in every Tuesday and Friday like clockwork, always alone, always in that same corner booth where the lighting was soft enough to hide secrets, but bright enough to read the faces of everyone who entered. He ordered espresso at 9, switched to Macallan neat at 10, and never, ever looked at me like I was anything more than a functional piece of the furniture. Until now. His eyes, dark as the espresso I'd served him an hour ago, dark as the bruises I was trying to hide, locked onto my arm with the precision of a microscope focusing on a specimen. I watched him go still, watched something shift behind his expression like tectonic plates rearranging themselves beneath the Earth's surface. Then he did something I'd never seen him do before. He stood. Vincent Marchetti didn't stand for people. People stood for him. I'd watched mayors and police chiefs and men whose faces I recognized from the news approach his booth with their spines slightly bent, their voices slightly softer, their entire beings radiating the understanding that they were in the presence of something dangerous. But he stood, and he looked at me, and I felt the entire room recalibrate around that single point of attention. Come here. 2 words, not shouted, barely louder than the piano, but they cut through the ambient noise like a knife through silk, and suddenly everyone was pretending very hard not to watch while watching absolutely everything. My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against the bar, trying to ground myself in something solid, something real. The marble was cool beneath my palms. I focused on that, on the veins running through the stone like frozen rivers. On the way, the overhead lights caught the crystalline structure and threw tiny rainbows across the surface. Anything but the man waiting for me to obey. I said, "Come here." There was no anger in it, no impatience, just certainty. the absolute conviction that when Vincent Marchetti gave an order, the universe rearranged itself to comply. I went. My feet carried me across the floor without consulting my brain. Muscle memory from 3 years of responding to men's commands before they could become threats. I kept my eyes down, kept my shoulders slightly curved inward, kept myself small and unthreatening and forgettable even as I became the center of attention in a room full of people who knew better than to stare. When I reached his booth, I stopped at what I hoped was a respectful distance, close enough to hear him speak, far enough to run if I needed to. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at me with those dark eyes that seemed to catalog every detail, the way I held myself, the slight tremble in my hands, the careful blankness I'd arranged my face into. He was reading me like a book written in a language only he understood. Then, with a gentleness that made my chest ache, he reached out and took my wrist. I flinched, couldn't help it. My body remembered before my brain could override the instinct, remembered hands that grabbed and twisted and hurt, remembered that touch was a prelude to pain. But his fingers were careful, almost reverent. He held my wrist like it was made of spun glass, like one wrong move might shatter something irreplaceable. And slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away, he rolled up my sleeve. The bruises looked worse under the soft booth lighting. More purple, more yellow, more obviously shaped like fingers that had gripped too hard, held on too long, marked me as territory. I waited for disgust, or pity, or that particular combination of both that I'd seen on the faces of the ER nurse and the police officer, and my own mother when I'd finally gotten brave enough to tell the truth about Derek. Instead, Vincent Marchetti looked at my arm like he was memorizing it, like he was cataloging every mark, every discoloration, every place where someone had touched me without permission and left evidence of their cruelty. What's his name? The question was so quiet I almost missed it beneath Chet Baker's crooning. But there was something underneath the quietness, something that made the air feel heavier, made my skin prickle with a warning I didn't fully understand. I tried to pull my arm back. He didn't let me. Not restraining me, exactly, but not releasing me either. Just holding my wrist with that same careful pressure, his thumb resting against my pulse point where it hammered like a trapped bird. I need you to tell me his name. Why? The word came out smaller than I'd intended. Childlike. I hated the sound of my own voice. He looked up at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his face that I recognized because I'd seen it in my own mirror often enough. Guilt. The kind that burrows into your bones and makes a home there. The kind that colors every decision you make for the rest of your life. Because, he said, and then stopped. Started again. Because I had a sister once. Her name was Sophia. He pulled out his phone with his free hand, tapped the screen, and turned it toward me. The photo showed a little girl with dark curls and a gap-toothed smile, holding a stuffed rabbit that had clearly been loved within an inch of its synthetic life. She was laughing at whoever held the camera, her whole face lit up with the kind of joy that children have before the world teaches them to be careful. She was 7 when our mother's boyfriend put her in the hospital. I was 16. I thought. His voice caught, and I watched him swallow hard. I thought if I kept my head down, if I didn't make waves, he'd leave her alone. I thought being quiet was the same as being safe. The little girl in the photo smiled at me, frozen in a moment of happiness that I somehow knew hadn't lasted. I kept my head down, he continued, his thumb still resting against my pulse. I went to school and came home and pretended everything was fine because I was 16 and stupid and scared. And one day I came home and she was gone. Brain hemorrhage, the doctor said. Blunt force trauma. Could have been prevented if someone had intervened earlier. He put the phone away, looked at me with eyes that had seen too much, that carried too much, that recognized something in me because he'd failed to recognize it in someone else. So I'm going to ask you one more time. And I need you to understand that this isn't about control. This isn't about possession or power or any of the things you're probably thinking. This is about making sure that I never look away again. That I never let someone suffer because I was too scared or too careful or too convinced that it wasn't my business. His grip on my wrist tightened just slightly. Not painful, never painful, but present, real. Anchoring me to this moment, to this decision, to whatever came next. What's his name? I should have lied. Should have said I fell or walked into a door. or any of the 1,000 other stories women tell to protect the men who hurt them. Should have done what I'd been doing for 3 years, kept my head down, stayed quiet, convinced myself that surviving was the same as living. Instead, I told the truth. Derek Morrison. Something shifted in Vincent Marchetti's expression. Not anger, exactly, though I could see it there beneath the surface. Banked but burning. Satisfaction, maybe. Or purpose. The look of a man who'd just been handed a problem he knew exactly how to solve. He released my wrist and stood, 6 feet of tailored menace in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car. He adjusted his cufflinks with the same precision a surgeon might use before making the first incision, each movement deliberate and controlled. Thank you for trusting me. Then he did something that made my breath catch in my throat. He touched my face. Just once. Just his thumb brushing across my bruised cheek with a tenderness that made me want to cry and run away in equal measure. Go home, Lily. Lock your doors. Get some sleep. He knew my name. I'd never told him my name. And know that by morning, Derek Morrison will understand that you're not alone anymore. He walked away before I could respond, moving through the club like Moses parting the Red Sea, people unconsciously shifting out of his path. I watched him go, my wrist still warm from his touch, my face still tingling where his thumb had been, my entire understanding of the world tilting sideways in a way that felt both terrifying and inevitable. I went back to the bar, finished my shift, avoided eye contact with everyone who'd witnessed whatever that was. At 2 a.m., when the last drunk had been poured into an Uber and the lights had come up to reveal all the stains and scars the darkness had hidden, my manager, a woman named Susan who'd never spoken to me beyond shift scheduling and drink orders, approached me with an expression I couldn't read. Mr. Marchetti left instructions for you. She handed me an envelope. Heavy cardstock, my name written on the front, in elegant handwriting that looked like it belonged in a museum. Inside, a check, made out to Great Lakes Credit Union, the company holding my student loans. The amount was exact to the dollar, $37,418. Every penny I owed, paid in full, and a note, in that same elegant handwriting. You've been working too hard. Take a month off. Paid, rest, heal. Let someone take care of you for a change. V. He also said to tell you, Susan's voice was careful, like she was delivering a message she didn't fully understand but knew was important, that you should expect some changes in your life soon, and that they're all good changes, things you don't need to be afraid of. I walked home in the 3 a.m. darkness, the envelope clutched against my chest, my mind spinning with questions I didn't have answers for. The city was different at this hour, quieter, emptier, full of shadows that could hide anything. I should have been afraid. Should have been thinking about Derek, about what Vincent had meant when he said Derek would understand, about what kind of man pays off a stranger's student loans like they're buying a cup of coffee. Instead, I was thinking about the way Vincent had held my wrist, about Sophia's gap-toothed smile, about the fact that someone had finally looked at me, really looked at me, and decided I was worth protecting. My apartment was exactly as I'd left it. Small and clean and impersonal. The kind of space that belonged to someone who'd learned not to get attached to places because places could be taken away. I locked the door behind me, checked the windows, and finally let myself look at the check again. $37,000, a month's paid leave, a promise that changes were coming. I should have been grateful. Should have been relieved. Should have been anything except what I was, which was terrified of how good it felt to have someone care whether I lived or died. I fell asleep on my couch still wearing my work clothes, the check on the coffee table where I could see it, proof that tonight had actually happened and wasn't just some exhaustion-induced hallucination. I woke to my phone vibrating at 6 a.m. The first text was from an unknown number. Black car outside. Driver named Marcus. He'll take you wherever you need to go. Not a request. I looked out my window. Sure enough, a black SUV sat at the curb, engine running, a man in a suit leaning against the driver's door like he had all the time in the world. The second text came 30 seconds later. Also, Derek Morrison left the city this morning. New job in Seattle, new apartment, new life. He won't be coming back. You're safe now. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, staring at those words until they stopped making sense. You're safe now. As if safety was something that could be delivered like a package, wrapped up with a bow and left on your doorstep. As if Vincent Marchetti had somehow reached into my life and rearranged it overnight, moved Derek across the country like he was a chess piece, paid off my debts like they were pocket change, assigned me a driver like I was someone who mattered. I should have been angry, should have felt controlled, manipulated, moved around without my consent. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. I felt seen. The third text arrived as I was getting dressed. I know you're probably angry. You have every right to be. Meet me for coffee at 8, the place on 6th and Main, the one you go to every Sunday. We need to talk, and I need to apologize. He knew where I got coffee on Sundays. He knew my name without me telling him. He knew about Derek and my student loans and exactly how to make me feel simultaneously protected and exposed. Vincent Marchetti had been watching me. For how long? And why? I should have said no. Should have blocked the number, sent the driver away, deposited the check, and disappeared before I got pulled any deeper into whatever this was. Instead, at 7:45, I walked outside and got in the black SUV. Marcus, the driver, didn't speak, just nodded, started the engine, and drove. The car smelled like leather and something expensive, the kind of clean that comes from money, not effort. I sat in the back seat and watched the city wake up around me, watched people heading to jobs they hated and lives they'd settled for, and wondered if I was making the biggest mistake of my life or the first real choice I'd made in years. The coffee shop was empty except for Vincent, sitting at a corner table with 2 cappuccinos waiting. He stood when I entered. That same automatic courtesy that seemed wrong on a man everyone whispered about in tones usually reserved for natural disasters. Lily, Mr. Marchetti, Vincent, please. I sat. He sat. We looked at each other across 2 cappuccinos that were made exactly how I liked them, which meant he'd been paying attention to more than just the bruises on my arm. I owe you an explanation, he said. You owe me a lot of things. Starting with why you've been stalking me. He didn't flinch from the accusation, didn't try to soften it or explain it away. You're right. That's exactly what I've been doing. And I'm not going to insult you by pretending it was noble. His honesty was more unsettling than any lie would have been. 3 months ago, I was at a charity gala. You were catering. Do you remember? I did. A black tie event for children's cancer research, held at some mansion in the hills. I'd worked the coat check and occasionally circulated with champagne, invisible in my black dress and practiced smile. There was a man, Vincent continued, drunk. He grabbed one of the waitresses, grabbed you, put his hand somewhere it had no business being, and you... He stopped, smiled, but it was sad. You smiled at him. You actually smiled. And you took his hand. And you moved it away so gently he probably thought you were flirting. And then you talked him down, got him to sit, brought him water and food, treated him like a human being instead of the piece of shit he was being. I remembered. The man had been a donor, someone important, someone who couldn't be offended. So I'd done what I always did, made myself small, made it easy, made the problem go away without making waves. And I watched you, Vincent said. And I thought, that's someone who's learned to survive by making herself smaller. That's someone who's been trained to protect other people's comfort at the expense of her own safety. That's someone who deserves to take up space. So you decided to take up space for me. Without asking? Yes. He didn't look away. And I was wrong. Not wrong to want to help, but wrong to do it without your consent. Wrong to make decisions for you. Wrong to assume I knew what you needed better than you did. The cappuccino was perfect. I hated that he'd gotten it perfect. But here's what I need you to understand. Lily, the night I saw those bruises on your arm, I couldn't unsee them. I couldn't unknow that someone was hurting you. And I couldn't... His voice caught. He took a breath, steadied himself. I couldn't be 16 again, keeping my head down while someone I could have protected suffered. So I made a choice. I gave Derek Morrison a choice too. Leave the state with enough money to start over, or stay and face consequences he wouldn't survive. He chose to leave. You threatened him. I offered him a business opportunity. What he heard as a threat says more about his conscience than my intentions. I should have been horrified. Should have seen this for what it was. A powerful man exercising control, rearranging my life without permission, deciding he knew what was best for me. But I kept thinking about Derek, about the last time he'd hit me, about how he'd cried after, promised it would never happen again, made me feel like I was the one who'd done something wrong by making him so angry. About how I'd believed him because believing him was easier than accepting that I was in love with someone who wanted to hurt me. Why? I asked. Why do you care what happens to me? Vincent looked at me for a long moment. Then he pulled out a small velvet box and slid it across the table. Inside was a bracelet, delicate silver chain, single charm that looked like a button. It's a panic button, he said. Press it, and I get an alert with your exact location. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. or if I'm in a meeting with the mayor. I'll come, immediately. That's insane. Probably. He smiled. And for the first time, I saw something other than carefully controlled power in his expression. I saw loneliness, but I'm offering it anyway. Not as a collar or a leash or any kind of control, as a promise that you're not alone, that someone sees you, that if you need help, you'll have it. I looked at the bracelet, at the man who'd had it made, at the cappuccino he'd gotten exactly right because he'd been watching me long enough to know how I took my coffee. What do you want from me, Vincent? Nothing, he said simply. I want nothing from you except for you to be safe, to heal, to have the space to figure out who you are when you're not just surviving. And if I don't want your help, then you walk away. Leave the bracelet. Block my number. I'll respect your choice. He met my eyes. But I'm hoping you won't, because I think you deserve to have someone in your corner. And I'd like to be that someone. If you'll let me. I should have walked away. Should have recognized this for the dangerous beginning it was. Powerful man, vulnerable woman, all the warning signs written in neon. Instead, I picked up the bracelet. This doesn't mean I trust you. I know. Or that I want to be whatever this is. I know. I looked at the silver chain, at the tiny button that promised salvation at the press of a finger. I just don't want to be alone anymore. And I don't know if that's the same thing as wanting to be with you. It's enough, Vincent said softly. For now, it's enough. I put the bracelet on. The weight of it was barely noticeable, just enough to remind me it was there, that I had a choice, that someone had decided I was worth saving. That night, I found forget-me-nots on my doorstep. My favorite flower. I'd mentioned them once, months ago, to a coworker during a slow shift. Vincent had been in his booth, apparently far enough away not to hear, close enough to remember. I brought them inside, put them in water, stared at them like they might transform into something else if I looked away. My phone buzzed. Sleep well, Lily. You're safe now, I promise. V. I touched the bracelet. Thought about Derek in Seattle, about student loans paid in full, about a man who'd spent 3 months watching me, learning me, waiting for the moment I'd need him. I should have been terrified. Instead, for the first time in 3 years, I slept through the night without nightmares. The first week of freedom felt like wearing someone else's skin. I woke up each morning in my small apartment with sunlight streaming through curtains I'd forgotten to close. No alarm screaming at me to get ready for a shift that would leave my feet aching and my smile muscles cramped. The silence was disorienting. For 3 years, my life had been measured in double shifts in the careful choreography of avoiding Derek's moods. Now I had nothing but time, vast, echoing expanses of it, and I didn't know what to do with myself. The bracelet sat on my wrist like a question I hadn't answered yet. Vincent texted me every morning, nothing invasive, nothing that demanded response. Just, good morning. I hope you slept well. Or, there's a farmer's market on 5th if you need fresh flowers. Small things, observations, the kind of messages you'd send to a friend, if a friend was someone who'd rearranged your entire existence without asking permission first. I never responded, but I read every single one. On day 3, I went to deposit the check. The bank teller looked at the amount, looked at me in my threadbare jacket and clearance rack jeans, and asked me to wait while she verified the funds. I sat in one of those uncomfortable chairs they keep in bank lobbies, watching people conduct their normal financial business, and wondered what it said about my life that $37,000 felt both life-changing and like a transaction. Vincent Marchetti probably wouldn't even notice was missing. The funds cleared. The teller apologized for the wait with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I walked out of the bank debt-free for the first time since I was 19, and instead of feeling liberated, I felt owned. I went to the coffee shop on 6th and Main, ordered my usual cappuccino. Sat at the table where Vincent had handed me a panic button disguised as jewelry and asked for nothing except the chance to protect me. My phone buzzed. "I'm glad you went to the bank. You deserve to start fresh." I looked around the coffee shop. He wasn't there. But he knew I'd been to the bank, which meant Marcus, the driver, was reporting back, or someone else was watching, or Vincent had access to my financial records in a way that should have terrified me. I typed, "Are you having me followed?" 3 dots appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again. "Yes, for your safety. If you want me to stop, I will. Just say the word." I should have said the word. Should have drawn a line, established boundaries, protected what remained of my privacy. Instead, I asked, "Where are you right now?" "My office." Trying to focus on paperwork and failing because I'm wondering if you hate me yet. Despite everything, the surveillance, the control, the way he'd inserted himself into my life like a benevolent virus. I smiled. "I don't hate you. I don't know what I feel about you. But it's not hate. That's more than I deserve. Thank you for being honest." I finished my cappuccino. Walked home through streets that felt different now, safer somehow, like the city itself had been rearranged to accommodate my passage. Every corner, every shadow, every man who looked at me too long. I wondered if they were Vincent's people. If I was moving through the world wrapped in invisible armor I hadn't asked for, but couldn't quite bring myself to refuse. That night, the nightmares came back. Derek's hands, his voice, the particular shade of rage that would come over his face right before. I woke up gasping, my sheets soaked with sweat, my heart trying to punch its way out of my chest. 3 a.m. The worst hour. The hour when your brain reminds you of every mistake you've ever made. Every moment you should have run but didn't. Every time you chose to stay because leaving felt more dangerous than surviving. My fingers found the bracelet without conscious thought. I pressed the button. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. I sat there in my dark bedroom, feeling stupid and needy and weak for actually using it, for believing that Vincent Marchetti would drop everything at 3 a.m. because I'd had a bad dream. Then my phone rang. Lily. His voice was rough, alert, but not quite awake. "Are you hurt?" "No, I pressed my palm against my chest, trying to slow my heartbeat. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." Don't apologize." "Are you safe? Is someone there?" "No, a nightmare. It was just a nightmare." "I'm fine." Silence on the other end. I could hear him breathing, could picture him sitting up in bed, running calculations I couldn't follow. "I'm coming over." "Vincent." "No. It's 3 a.m. "I'm fine." "You pressed the button, Lily. That means you needed someone." And I promised I'd come. He was already moving. I could hear it in the shift of his voice, the rustle of fabric. "I'll be there in 15 minutes. You don't have to let me in. But I'm coming anyway, and I'll stay in the car outside until you tell me to leave." "Okay?" "This is insane." "Probably, but I'm doing it anyway." He hung up before I could argue. I sat in the dark and tried to decide how I felt about a man who would drive across the city at 3 a.m. because I'd had a nightmare. Tried to separate gratitude from the dangerous warmth spreading through my chest. The feeling that someone cared whether I was okay, that I mattered enough to inconvenience someone powerful. Derek used to say he cared too. In the beginning, before care became control, became violence, became the new normal. 14 minutes later, headlights swept across my bedroom window. I watched from behind the curtain as the black SUV parked at the curb. Watched Vincent get out wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt that made him look less like a crime lord and more like someone's concerned older brother. He looked up at my window. Our eyes met through the glass. I should have let him sit there. Should have proven I could handle my own demons. That I didn't need rescuing every time my past caught up with me. Instead, I went downstairs and opened the door. He looked exhausted. Human. His hair was messed up from sleep or from running his hands through it during the drive. And there were shadows under his eyes that suggested he didn't sleep well either. That maybe we were both haunted by different ghosts that visited at the same ungodly hours. "Hi," I said. "Hi." He stayed on the threshold, not presuming entry. "Are you okay?" "I had a dream about Derek. About before." The bad parts. Do you want to talk about it? No. Okay. He nodded. Do you want company? I can sit in the living room. Or I can leave. Whatever you need. I looked at this man who'd driven across the city in the middle of the night, who stood on my doorstep asking permission instead of assuming it, who'd somehow figured out how to offer protection without making it feel like a cage. Stay, please. Just for a little while. Relief flooded his expression. There and gone so quickly I might have imagined it. We sat on my couch, me curled in one corner with a blanket, him on the other end maintaining careful distance. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of quiet that happens when two people don't need to fill space with noise, when presence is enough. Can I ask you something? I said finally. Anything. Why me? There are probably hundreds of women in this city dealing with what I'm dealing with. Why did you decide I was the one worth saving? He was quiet for a long time. Long enough that I thought maybe he wouldn't answer, that maybe there was no good answer to give. I don't know if I can explain it in a way that doesn't sound obsessive. Try anyway. That night at the gala, when you smiled at that drunk man instead of screaming or hitting him or doing any of the things you had every right to do, I saw something in you that I recognized. This determination to make yourself smaller so other people could be comfortable. This belief that your safety mattered less than keeping the peace. And I thought, he looked at me. And in the dim light from the street lamps outside, I could see the guilt etched into every line of his face. I thought, that's how Sophia was, always trying to make everyone else happy, always protecting our mother's feelings by staying quiet about what her boyfriend was doing, always believing that if she was just good enough, sweet enough, small enough, he'd stop hurting her. But she wasn't responsible for what he did to her, I said quietly. She was 7 years old. I know, logically, I know, but the part of me that's still 16, that's still coming home to find her dead because I was too scared to make waves, that part of me sees you and thinks, not again, never again. So I'm a second chance, a way for you to rewrite history. Maybe, probably. He didn't look away. Is that so wrong? I thought about it, about being someone's redemption arc, someone's chance to save the person they couldn't save before, about whether that was fair or unfair, healthy or codependent, love or something else entirely. I don't know, I said honestly. But I know that when I pressed that button tonight, you came, and Derek never came. Not when I needed him, only when he wanted something from me. I'm not Derek. I know. But I don't know what you are yet, or what we are, or if this is real, or if I'm just so desperate to feel safe that I'm confusing protection with love, then don't confuse them. Vincent shifted slightly, angling toward me. I'm not asking you to love me, Lily. I'm not asking you to feel anything except what you actually feel. I'm asking for permission to care about you. That's all, just let me care. And if it becomes something else, if what I'm feeling starts to look like what you're feeling, then maybe we figure it out together. But right now, in this moment, I just want you to be able to sleep without nightmares. The honesty was devastating. What are you feeling? I asked. He smiled. Sad. Real. Vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. Terrified. Because I've built my entire life on control, on knowing exactly how every situation will unfold, on eliminating variables before they can become problems. And you're not a variable I can control. You're a person I care about more than I should, faster than I should, and I don't know how to do that without becoming the thing you're afraid of. I'm afraid of a lot of things, but I don't think you're one of them. Not yet. Not yet, he echoed. I'll try to keep it that way. We fell silent again. The sky outside was starting to lighten. Not quite dawn, but that pre-dawn gray that promises the night is almost over. Thank you for coming, I said. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. He stood, and I felt the loss of his presence immediately. Try to get some sleep. I'll be in the car outside if you need anything. Vincent, you don't have to. I know, but I want to. He headed for the door, then paused. And Lily, using the bracelet wasn't weak. It was brave. Don't ever apologize for asking for help. He left. I watched from the window as he settled into the driver's seat of the SUV, watched him recline the seat slightly, Watched him pull out his phone and presumably deal with whatever empire running needed doing at 4 in the morning. I went back to bed, and with Vincent Marchetti sitting guard outside my building like some modern-day knight in designer sweatpants, I fell asleep without dreams. When I woke at 9, the SUV was gone. But there was a text waiting. You looked peaceful. I'm glad. Coffee shop at noon. I'll buy you lunch. No pressure. V, I went. Of course I went. He was waiting at our table, the one that was apparently ours now, through some unspoken agreement, with that same intense attention he'd given me the first time, like I was the only person in the room who mattered. You look better, he said as I sat down. 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep will do that. Good. He pushed a menu toward me. Order whatever you want. And before you argue about me spending money on you, remember that I want to do this, that it makes me happy to do small things that make your life easier. That's manipulative? Is it, or is it just honest? I ordered a sandwich I couldn't afford on my own. He ordered the same. We ate in companionable silence, and for the first time since Derek, I felt like I was on a date instead of being interrogated or managed or controlled. Can I ask you something now? Vincent said, wiping his hands on a napkin. Fair's fair. What do you want? Not what you think you should want, or what's practical, or what makes sense. Just, if you could have anything, be anything, what would it be? No one had ever asked me that before. I thought about it. Really thought about it. About the girl I'd been before Derek, before the debt, before survival became the only goal that mattered. I want to go back to school. I had a semester left before everything fell apart. Psychology. I wanted to help people who'd been through what I went through. Then do it. Vincent, I can't just... Why not? Your debt's paid. You have a month off. Use it to enroll. I'll help with tuition if you need it. I can't let you pay for my education. Why not? Because that's too much. That's boyfriend territory. I stopped. Because I'd said it out loud. The thing we'd both been dancing around. Boyfriend. The word hung between us like a bridge I wasn't sure I was ready to cross. Vincent leaned forward. His eyes were dark and serious, and full of something I was afraid to name. Lily, I'm going to be very clear about something, because I think we both need to hear it said plainly. I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I already have. Maybe I fell that night at the gala when you chose kindness over anger. Maybe it happened when I saw the bruises on your arm and wanted to burn the world down to keep you safe. Maybe it's happening right now. Watching you tell me what you want for the first time since I've known you. My heart was doing something complicated in my chest. Something that felt like hope and terror having a conversation in a language I didn't quite understand. But here's what I need you to understand, he continued. I don't expect you to love me back. I don't expect anything except honesty. If you want to explore this, whatever this is between us, I'm here. If you want me to step back and just be the guy who helps you feel safe, I can do that too. If you want me gone completely, I'll disappear. You're in control, Lily. Always. That's the one thing I can promise you. What if I don't know what I want yet? Then we figure it out together. No pressure, no timeline, just honesty, communication, and the understanding that I'm patient enough to wait for you to catch up to wherever your feelings are going. I looked at this man who'd driven across the city at 3 a.m., who'd paid off my debts and moved my abuser across the country and offered me a panic button, and somehow made all of it feel less like control and more like care. Who'd laid his heart on the table and told me to do whatever I wanted with it, including break it. I think I'd like to try, I said quietly. This, us. Whatever it becomes. But slowly. And with the understanding that I'm probably going to panic and run away at some point because that's what I do. Then I'll let you run. And I'll be here when you're ready to come back. He reached across the table, offered his hand. I took it. His fingers were warm, solid, real. Nothing like Derek's hands, which had only known how to take and break and hurt. We sat there, holding hands across cheap diner coffee and the ruins of sandwiches we'd barely touched. And I thought, maybe this is what healing looks like. Not dramatic or cinematic. Just small moments of choosing trust over fear, choosing to be seen over choosing to hide. My phone buzzed in my purse. I ignored it. Vincent noticed. You should check that. It's probably nothing. Lily, check your phone. The tone in his voice made me look. made me pull out my phone and see the notification from an unknown number. It was a photo. Me and Vincent, holding hands across the table, taken from outside the coffee shop through the window, taken minutes ago. Below the photo, a message. He can't protect you from everyone, sweetheart. Some of us have been watching longer than he has. Remember those papers you signed 2 years ago? Remember what you promised? We're here to collect. You have 48 hours. Come alone, or your sister pays your debt instead. The phone slipped from my fingers. Vincent caught it before it hit the table, looked at the screen, and his entire expression went cold. Not angry? Worse than angry? The kind of calculated fury that comes from a man who's decided exactly what he's going to do and damn the consequences. Lily, look at me. I couldn't. I was back in that hospital administrator's office 2 years ago, signing papers I didn't understand because Emma was dying and I would have signed anything, promised anything, to save her. Lily. His hand cupped my face, forced me to meet his eyes. Who did you sign papers with? I don't know. They said they were from a medical financing company. Emma's treatment was so expensive, and insurance wouldn't cover half of it. And they said if I just signed, what did you promise? Service. 5 years of whatever they needed. I thought they meant working to pay off the debt. I thought it was just money. Vincent's jaw tightened. He released my face, pulled out his own phone, dialed a number with practiced efficiency. Marcus, I need you at the coffee shop on 6th, now. And call Thompson. Tell him to pull everything he can find on medical financing companies operating in the state 2 years ago. Focus on the predatory ones. The ones that make people sign contracts they don't understand. He hung up, looked at me with eyes that promised violence I wasn't sure I wanted to witness. We're leaving. Right now. You're coming home with me where I can keep you safe while I figure out who sent that message and what they want. I can't just... Yes, you can. And you will. Because whoever this is, they've been watching you longer than I have. They know about your sister. They know about us. And they're not going to stop until they have what they want. What do they want? His expression was grim. You, Lily. They want you. Vincent's penthouse existed in a different world than the one I'd been living in. Not just wealthier, but fundamentally altered, as if money could bend the laws of physics and create spaces where normal rules didn't apply. The elevator required a key. Marcus inserted it without a word, and we rose 43 floors in silence, so complete I could hear my own heartbeat, could feel Vincent's presence beside me like a force field of barely contained rage. He hadn't spoken since we left the coffee shop. Hadn't touched me except to guide me into the SUV with a hand on my lower back. Protective, possessive, impossible to read. His jaw was set in a way that suggested he was running calculations I couldn't follow, planning moves in a game I hadn't known I was playing. The doors opened directly into his home. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city like a god's view of creation. Buildings reduced to toys, people to insects, the whole sprawling mess of humanity rendered small and manageable from this height. The furniture was expensive in that understated way that screams money. All clean lines and neutral colors. Art on the walls that I recognized from museums I'd visited on free admission days. But it wasn't sterile. There were books on the shelves, real books, worn spines suggesting they'd been read, and a blanket draped over the back of the couch like someone actually sat there. A coffee mug on the kitchen counter. Small signs of life that made the space feel less like a showroom and more like a sanctuary. Make yourself comfortable, Vincent said, his voice still tight with that controlled fury. I need to make some calls. There's food in the kitchen, clothes in the guest room if you want to change, anything you need. Just take it, Vincent. He stopped, turned, looked at me with eyes that were trying very hard not to show fear. I'm sorry, I said, for dragging you into this. For whatever mess I signed myself into. Don't. He crossed the space between us in 3 strides, his hands finding my face with a gentleness that contradicted everything else about him in that moment. Don't you dare apologize for being victimized. Don't you dare take responsibility for predators who saw vulnerability and decided to exploit it. But if I'd just been smarter, if I'd read the contract more carefully, you were trying to save your sister. You did what anyone who loves someone would do, and they used that love against you. His thumb traced my cheekbone. and I felt the tremor in his hand, fury barely leashed. I'm going to find out who they are, and I'm going to make sure they never touch you. Do you understand? Never. I nodded because I couldn't speak, because the intensity in his voice was terrifying and comforting in equal measure. He kissed my forehead, chaste, reverent, nothing like the violence I could see simmering beneath his surface. And then he was gone, disappearing into what I assumed was his office, leaving me alone in a penthouse that cost more per month than I'd made in a year. I explored because staying still felt like drowning. The guest room had a bathroom bigger than my entire apartment, all marble and gold fixtures and a shower that probably violated water conservation laws. There were clothes in the closet, women's clothes, my size, still tagged. He'd bought them. For me. Before I'd ever agreed to come here, before I'd ever agreed to anything, he'd prepared a space for me like he'd known it would eventually be necessary. I should have been angry, should have seen it as presumptuous, controlling, another sign that Vincent Marchetti made decisions without consulting the people they affected. Instead, I felt cared for, anticipated, seen in a way that made my chest ache. I changed into soft yoga pants and a sweater that smelled like expensive detergent and nothing else. No cologne, no previous wearer, just clean fabric waiting to become mine. When I emerged, Vincent was in the living room, pacing in front of those massive windows with his phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what it costs. I want every medical financing company in the state cross-referenced with known trafficking operations. Yes, trafficking. You think I'm being paranoid? Someone just threatened to take her, Thompson. Someone who's been watching her for 2 years, waiting for... He saw me. Stopped mid-sentence. I'll call you back. He hung up. We stared at each other across imported hardwood floors and the ruins of whatever normal had looked like before a photograph had arrived with a promise of violence. Trafficking? My voice came out smaller than I'd intended. It's a possibility. Vincent's expression was carefully neutral, which told me everything about how likely he thought that possibility was. Predatory lending operations sometimes have connections to other industries. Industries that profit from people in desperate situations. You think they want to sell me? I think they want to use you for something, whether that's labor or something else. I won't know until I understand who they are and what you actually signed. The room tilted slightly. I sat down on the couch before my legs could give out. Vincent was beside me immediately, his hand on my back, solid and warm and real. Breathe, Lily. Just breathe. You're safe here. I promise you, you're safe. For how long? 48 hours? And then what? They said they'd take Emma instead if I don't... They're not taking Emma. They're not taking you. They're not taking anyone. His voice was steel wrapped in velvet, absolute certainty masquerading as comfort. I have resources they can't imagine, connections they don't know about. By the time 48 hours is up, I'll know who they are, where they operate, and exactly how to dismantle them. You can't just... Yes, I can, and I will. He turned me to face him, his hands on my shoulders, his eyes boring into mine with an intensity that made it impossible to look away. I told you I was falling in love with you. I meant it, which means I will move heaven and earth and every corrupt system in between to keep you safe. Do you believe me? I wanted to... God. I wanted to believe that someone could protect me, that I could hand over my fear and let someone else carry it for a while. But I'd believed Derek when he said he'd never hurt me again. I'd believed the administrator who said the papers were just a formality. I'd believed so many promises that had turned to ash in my mouth. I want to believe you. That's enough. For now, that's enough. His phone rang. He checked the screen, his expression hardening. I need to take this. Will you be okay? I nodded. He disappeared back into his office, and I was alone with the city spread out beneath me, like a map of everywhere I couldn't go, everywhere that wasn't safe anymore. I found myself at the windows, pressing my palm against the glass. Somewhere down there, people were living normal lives, going to jobs that didn't require panic buttons, dating people who didn't dismantle criminal organizations as foreplay. Existing in a world where signing the wrong papers didn't mean forfeiting your autonomy. I'd never been one of those people, even before Derek, even before the debt. I'd been the girl who worked 3 jobs to pay for community college, who sent money home to her mother, who'd learned early that life was something you survived rather than enjoyed. Maybe that's why Vincent recognized me. Maybe broken attracts broken, and we were both just walking wounded, trying to pretend we knew how to heal. The office door opened. Vincent emerged looking 10 years older than he had 30 minutes ago. "We need to talk." Those 4 words, never good, never anything but a prelude to information you don't want but need to hear. I sat. He paced. The late afternoon sun turned the city outside to gold and amber, beautiful and indifferent to whatever small human drama was unfolding 43 floors above it. "The company you signed with is called MedFuture Financial Solutions. On paper, they're legitimate. Licensed, insured, registered with the state. In practice," he stopped pacing, looked at me. "They're a front for Marcus Reeves." The name meant nothing to me. Vincent saw it in my face. Marcus Reeves is complicated. Real estate developer, city councilman, philanthropist, very public, very respectable, also very quietly involved in acquisition and leverage operations. He finds people in vulnerable positions, manufactures crises, then positions himself as the solution. The debt becomes control. The control becomes trafficking. Sometimes, other times it's blackmail, or coerced labor, or using someone's desperation to gain access to people or places he wants. He ran his hand through his hair, frustration bleeding through his usually immaculate control. He approached me 3 years ago. Wanted to partner on some ventures that would have given him access to my distribution networks, my connections, my legitimacy. I said no. Something cold settled in my stomach. And then what? And then he told me he'd proceed without me, that he already had operations in place, people on hooks he'd set years ago. Vincent met my eyes. He showed me files, Lily, profiles of his current acquisitions, people he was grooming for various purposes. Was I one of them? The silence was answer enough. "I saw your file on his desk 3 years ago. Your photo, your sister's medical history, projections of how desperate you'd become, timelines for when you'd be vulnerable enough to sign anything. He was planning you, like you were a long-term investment." I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process the idea that my entire life for the past 3 years had been someone's strategy, that my pain had been calculated and cultivated like a crop waiting to be harvested. "That's why you started watching me. You knew what he was planning." I knew he was planning something. I didn't know the specifics. Didn't have enough evidence to stop him without alerting him that I was onto his operation. Vincent sat beside me, careful not to touch, giving me space to absorb this. So I watched, and I waited, and I hated every second that I couldn't do more. Until I bled through my sleeve. Until you bled through your sleeve. And I couldn't wait anymore. Couldn't watch you suffer and tell myself I was playing the long game. He looked at his hands like they belonged to someone else. "Moving Derek. Paying your debts." That wasn't just protection, it was interference. I was trying to disrupt Reeves's timeline, make you less vulnerable before he could activate whatever plan he had for you. But it didn't work. No, it didn't work. Because he's been planning this for years, and I've been scrambling for weeks. He has infrastructure I'm still trying to map, resources I haven't identified yet, and now he's accelerating because he knows I'm involved, knows I'm protecting you, and he's decided to force a confrontation. The sun was setting. The city outside turned from gold to crimson to purple, twilight erasing details and leaving only silhouettes. What does he want from me specifically? What was I supposed to be used for? Vincent was quiet for a long time. Long enough that I knew the answer would be worse than I'd imagined. Leverage against me. He pulled out his phone, showed me a photograph. This was taken 3 years ago. That charity gala where I first saw you. The photo showed Vincent in a tuxedo, looking at something off camera. His expression was unguarded, almost soft, an expression I'd never seen him wear in person. Following his gaze, the photographer had captured me in profile, carrying a tray of champagne, completely unaware I was being observed. Reeves noticed that I noticed you, that I looked at you longer than I should have, with more interest than I'd shown in anyone in years, and he realized you could be used, not just as another acquisition, but as a way to get to me specifically. So this whole time, Emma's cancer, the debt, Derek. Emma's cancer was real. The rest was engineered. inflated bills to create debt. Derek was probably placed, or at least encouraged. The debt papers were designed to give Reeves legal claim to you if he ever needed to activate that option. Vincent's voice was hollow. You've been a weapon aimed at me for 3 years, and you never knew. I stood, walked to the windows, pressed my forehead against the glass, and felt the coolness seep into my skin. Below, the city sparkled with a million lives that weren't mine, weren't trapped in someone else's conspiracy, weren't being used as leverage in a game between powerful men. Does Emma know? Was she part of it? I don't know yet. Thompson's looking into it. Vincent was behind me suddenly, not touching, but close enough that I could feel his warmth. But Lily, even if she was, even if she made terrible choices, none of this is your fault. You were trying to save your sister. That's not a crime. That's not a weakness. That's love. And Reeves weaponized it. He's still weaponizing it. I turned to face Vincent. The message said they'd take Emma if I don't comply, which means she's in danger either way. Because of me. Because of him. Vincent's hands found my face again, that gesture he seemed to make instinctively when he needed me to really hear him. Because Marcus Reeves is a predator who profits from other people's desperation. You didn't cause this. You're not responsible for it. And I swear to you, I will end it. How? His expression went cold, calculating. The mask of the civilized man dropping to reveal something more primal underneath. By being better at violence than he is, by having resources he can't match, and a willingness to cross lines he thinks I won't cross. By making it very clear that touching you costs more than he's willing to pay. Vincent, I know what you're going to say. That violence isn't the answer. That there are legal channels, that we should call the police. But Reeves owns half the city council and has enough cops on his payroll that involving law enforcement would just tip him off. The only way to stop him is to speak his language. And his language is power. I should have been horrified. Should have stepped back from this man who was calmly discussing violence like it was a business strategy, who just admitted he'd been watching me for years, who'd inserted himself into my life because I was useful leverage in someone else's war. Instead, I kissed him. It was desperate and terrified and grateful all at once. Thank you for telling me the truth. And I'm sorry you're involved, and please don't let them take me all tangled together in the press of lips and the taste of expensive coffee and fear. He kissed me back like I was the answer to a question he'd been asking for years, his hands in my hair, his body pressing mine against the window with the city sprawling beneath us, witnesses to this moment of choosing each other despite every reason not to. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. I don't know if this is real, I whispered. If what I'm feeling is actually about you or just about needing to feel safe, if I'm falling in love or just falling apart and grabbing onto the nearest solid thing, then we figure it out together. His thumb traced my lower lip. After we survive. After I make sure Marcus Reeves can never touch you. After we deal with whatever your sister's involvement is. After all of that, we figure out what this is. And if I run, if this gets too intense and I panic and disappear, then I'll let you run. And I'll be here when you come back. His smile was sad and certain. I told you, Lily. I'm patient enough to wait for you to catch up to wherever your feelings are going. My phone buzzed. We both froze. Vincent pulled it from my pocket, checked the screen, his expression going from tender to murderous in the space of a heartbeat. What is it? He showed me another photo, this one of Emma walking to her car in a parking lot I recognized. The grocery store near her apartment. Taken today, judging by her clothes. Taken by someone close enough to reach out and touch her. Below it. TikTok, sweetheart. 36 hours left. And just so you know, we're serious. Check the news. Vincent was already moving, turning on the massive TV mounted on the wall, pulling up local news before I could process what I was seeing. The anchor's face was grave. Breaking news tonight. A fire at MedFuture Financial Solutions. Downtown office has left one person dead and destroyed. What investigators say were years of client records. Authorities are treating this as suspicious, possibly arson. Vincent muted it, turned to me with eyes that promised violence I wasn't sure I wanted to witness. He's destroying evidence, burning down his own operation to eliminate any paper trail that could connect him to you, to the others he's used this way. And he killed someone, probably an employee who knew too much to make it look like it wasn't deliberate. He killed someone. Over paperwork. Over me. Not over you. Over protecting his operation. You're still useful to him alive. But he's showing us what he's capable of, what he's willing to do to maintain control. The news showed footage of the building, flames consuming files and computers, and any hope of proving what I'd signed, what I'd agreed to, what legal claim Reeves thought he had on me. My phone buzzed again. See? We can make anyone disappear. Even your sister. 36 hours, Lily. Come alone to the address we'll send tomorrow night. Or Emma's the one who burns. And this time, it won't be quick. The war room looked nothing like I'd imagined. No maps with red pins, no walls covered in surveillance photos connected by red string like some conspiracy theorist's fever dream. Just Vincent's dining table transformed into a command center, laptops and phones arranged with military precision. Marcus and 2 other men I didn't know speaking in low voices about extraction points and safe houses and contingencies I didn't want to understand. I sat on the couch with a cup of tea going cold in my hands, watching Vincent orchestrate my salvation like it was just another Tuesday. He'd changed into dark clothes. Tactical, I think they called it. Though on him it just looked expensive. Black on black. Form-fitting enough to move in. Expensive enough to make a statement. He was in his element, commanding his small army with the ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before, who knew exactly how to weaponize resources most people didn't even know existed. I should have felt grateful, protected, safe in the capable hands of a man who clearly knew how to navigate dangerous waters. Instead, I felt like a chess piece being moved around a board I couldn't see, playing a game where everyone knew the rules except me. Lily. Vincent's voice pulled me from my spiral. He was crouching in front of me, eye level, his hand on my knee, grounding, present, concerned in a way that made my chest ache. Where are you right now? Because you're not here with me. I'm thinking about Emma, about how she's going about her normal life, grocery shopping, going to work, sleeping in her apartment. And she has no idea that someone's watching her, that her life is in danger because of papers I signed. We're getting her, right now. Vincent gestured to one of the men at the table. That's Marcus. You met him. He's been your driver. And that's James and Cooper. They're extracting Emma as we speak. She'll be here within the hour, safe and protected until we can neutralize Reeves. You're kidnapping my sister. I'm protecting your sister. Without her consent, yes. Because getting her consent would require explanations we don't have time for, and would potentially put her in more danger if she panics and does something unpredictable. His voice was patient, reasonable, like he was explaining basic math to a child. Once she's here, once she's safe, we'll tell her everything, and she can hate me for it if she needs to, but she'll be alive to hate me. The logic was sound. The execution was terrifying. What if she's part of it? What if she's been working with Reeves this whole time? Something flickered across Vincent's face. Acknowledgement of a possibility he'd already considered and decided how to handle. Then we deal with that, too. But either way, she's your sister, and you asked me not to let them take her. So I won't. He stood for my side, pressed a kiss to my forehead, and returned to his war council before I could articulate the tangle of emotions that simple gesture had created. Gratitude and resentment and fear and something warmer, something dangerous, something that felt like falling in love with someone who solved problems through extraction teams and tactical planning. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. Vincent was beside me before the second ring, his hand covering mine on the phone, his expression grim. Don't answer it. It's them. It has to be. What if it's about Emma? What if they already have her? Marcus just texted. They have eyes on Emma. She's getting into her car right now, and Cooper's team is 30 seconds behind her. She's fine. The phone kept ringing. Vincent's hand stayed on mine, warm and solid and somehow asking permission without words. Let me handle this. Let me protect you. Let me be the barrier between you and whatever's on the other end of that call. I answered it anyway. Put it on speaker because I could feel Vincent's disapproval and needed him to understand this wasn't about defying him. It was about taking back some small measure of control in a situation where I'd had none. Hello? Lily. The voice was male, smooth, cultured, the kind of voice that belonged to boardrooms and charity galas, not arson and murder. I'm disappointed. I expected you to be smarter than this. Vincent's entire body went rigid beside me. Who is this? You know who this is? Or at least, Vincent does. a chuckle that made my skin crawl. "Hello, Vincent. I assume you're listening. I assume you've done your research by now and explained to Lily exactly why she's in this position. Marcus Reeves." Vincent's voice was ice wrapped in razors. "You made a mistake targeting her." "Did I? Because from where I'm sitting, I've accomplished exactly what I intended. I've forced you to reveal how much you care about her, how far you're willing to go to protect her. You've made her a liability, Vincent. Your weakness. And in our world, weaknesses get exploited. I'm not a weakness." The words came out before I could stop them, before I could calculate whether speaking would make things better or worse. "I'm a person. A person you've been manipulating for years because you're too much of a coward to face Vincent directly." Silence on the other end. Then laughter, genuine, delighted laughter that made me want to throw the phone across the room. "Oh, Vincent, you picked well. She's got fire." A pause. "Lily, let me make something very clear. The papers you signed give me legal claim to 5 years of your labor in whatever capacity I deem necessary. That was the agreement. Your sister's medical bills in exchange for service to be determined at my discretion. That's called indentured servitude. It's illegal. It's called a contract. And the beauty of contracts is they're enforceable. You signed, you agreed, and now I'm calling in that debt." Another pause. Deliberate. Unless, of course, Vincent would like to negotiate a buyout. I'm a reasonable man. Everything has a price. Vincent's hand found mine, squeezed once. "Trust me. Name it. $50 million. Transferred to the account I'll provide. And you walk away from the city. Permanently. Sell your assets, relocate your operations, disappear. In exchange, I'll tear up Lily's contract and forget she exists." I felt Vincent's hand tighten on mine, felt the war happening inside him, calculation versus emotion, strategy versus instinct. That's not a negotiation. That's extortion. That's business. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, I collect on Lily's contract the traditional way. And Vincent, I promise you won't like what I have planned for her, but you'll get to watch. I'll make sure of that. The line went dead. Vincent stood so fast his chair toppled backward, grabbed his phone, started barking orders in a voice I'd never heard him use before, cold, commanding, the voice of someone who'd decided negotiation was over and war had begun. I sat frozen, my own phone still in my hand, Marcus Reeves's voice echoing in my head. 5 years of your labor in whatever capacity I deem necessary. 5 years of whatever he wanted. For the rest of my 20s, I'd be property, a possession, a thing to be used and discarded and broken in whatever ways a man with enough money and no conscience could imagine. Lily. Look at me. Vincent was crouching in front of me again, his hands on my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. That's not happening. Do you hear me? That is never, ever happening. I will burn this entire city to the ground before I let him touch you. He wants $50 million and for you to leave, to give up everything you've built here. I don't care. Vincent, I don't care. Each word was punctuated, deliberate. I have money in accounts he doesn't know about. I have connections in cities he's never heard of. I can rebuild anywhere. But I can't rebuild you if he breaks you. So if the choice is between my empire and your freedom, there is no choice. There's only you. The simplicity of it was devastating. You can't give up your whole life for me. We've known each other for 3 weeks. I've loved you for 3 years. Everything else is just paperwork. He pressed his forehead to mine, and I felt the tremor in his hands, fear barely contained. Let me do this. Let me protect you the only way that matters. By letting him win. By keeping you safe. That's not losing. That's choosing what matters. A phone buzzed. Marcus looked at the screen, his expression going carefully blank. Boss, we have a problem. Vincent released me, crossed to the table in 3 strides, looked at whatever Marcus was showing him, went absolutely still in a way that was somehow more terrifying than rage would have been. What? I was standing now, my legs unsteady. What's wrong? Vincent turned the phone so I could see security footage, Emma's apartment building, a man I didn't recognize entering her apartment with a key, emerging 5 minutes later carrying a laptop and what looked like files, getting into a nondescript sedan and driving away. The timestamp was from 20 minutes ago. They have her laptop. Vincent's voice was hollow, which means they have access to her emails, her files, her communications with... He stopped, looked at me with something like pity. With you. Every email you've sent her for the past 2 years, every text message that backed up to her computer, every photo, every complaint about Derek, every mention of work or money or desperation, he's been watching you through her, Lily, and now he has documentation of everything. The room tilted. She was spying on me. We don't know that yet. The laptop could have been insurance he was keeping, information he was harvesting without her knowledge. Marcus closed the laptop. But we need to assume he has access to everything you've ever told your sister, which means he knows your patterns, your fears, your weaknesses. He knows you better than you probably know yourself. My phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. See? I know you, Lily. I know you sleep on your left side. I know you're afraid of the dark. I know you cry in the shower where no one can hear you. I know you better than Vincent ever could. And in 24 hours, you're going to come to me willingly. Because if you don't, I'll send him proof of exactly how long your sister has been helping me. And you'll have to watch Vincent break her. Choose wisely. Attached was a video file. Thumbnail showed Emma sitting across a desk from someone I assumed was Marcus Reeves. I didn't want to watch it. Didn't want to know. Wanted to preserve the possibility that my sister had been innocent, had been a victim like me, had loved me enough not to betray me. But Vincent was reaching for the phone, and I let him take it. Let him press play. Let the truth destroy whatever illusions I'd been holding on to. The video was dated 6 months ago. Emma's voice was clear. So you want me to keep encouraging her to take extra shifts? To stay isolated? Marcus Reeves's voice, smooth as poison. Exactly. The more exhausted she is, the more vulnerable she becomes. The more likely she is to make mistakes. To miss red flags with the boyfriend I've positioned. Keep doing what you're doing, Emma. Keep being the sister who needs just a little more help, who creates just enough crisis to keep her off balance. And you'll pay for my real treatments, not the fake ones. I'll pay for whatever you need, as long as you deliver her exactly when I need her. Emma's face on the screen. No guilt, no hesitation, just calculation. Deal. Vincent paused the video, looked at me with eyes full of a sorrow I didn't want, couldn't accept, would shatter under if I acknowledged, Lily, don't. I took the phone back, deleted the video like that would delete the knowledge, the betrayal, the understanding that everything I'd sacrificed for the past 2 years had been performance, manipulation, a trap I'd walked into with love as the bait. Just don't. We don't have to extract her. If you want, yes, we can leave her to deal with the consequences of her choices. It would have been easy. To let Emma face Marcus Reeves alone. To let her experience even a fraction of the fear she'd helped create in me. To choose justice over mercy. But I'd spent 3 years learning how to survive Derek by making myself smaller, and I'd learned that the opposite of abuse isn't revenge. It's refusing to become the thing that hurt you. Get her anyway. Keep her safe. I met Vincent's eyes. Because she's still my sister. And I'm not going to let him use her to hurt me twice. That's mercy she doesn't deserve. Probably. But it's the mercy I need to give. To be able to live with myself after all of this. Vincent studied me for a long moment. And I saw something shift in his expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. The understanding that I wasn't just someone to protect, but someone with my own moral compass. My own lines I wouldn't cross even when crossing them would be easier. Okay. He pulled out his phone. Marcus, proceed with the extraction. Bring her here. Lily wants her safe regardless. He hung up, crossed to me, pulled me into his arms with a gentleness that contradicted everything about this moment, this day, this impossible situation. You're stronger than I am, he said into my hair. I would have left her. I would have let her burn. I know. That's why I'm making this choice instead of you. We stood like that, wrapped in each other while his team worked around us, while somewhere in the city Emma was being extracted from her normal life, while Marcus Reeves counted down hours until he thought he'd won. Vincent's phone rang. He pulled back enough to check it, and his entire expression went dark. What now? He showed me the screen, local news alert. City Councilman Marcus Reeves announces surprise press conference for tomorrow morning. Sources say he plans to reveal extensive corruption in local business community. He's going public. Vincent's voice was tight. He's going to expose my operations, my connections, everything I've built, and he's going to frame it as civic duty, cleaning up the city, protecting citizens from dangerous criminals. But you're not. I'm exactly what he'll say I am. Vincent's honesty was brutal. I've done things, Lily, illegal things, violent things that would put me in prison if they came to light. And Reeves knows all of it because he used to be my partner before I realized what kind of man he was. So, what do? We have two options. Vincent started pacing, his mind clearly racing through scenarios. Option 1, I pay him. $50 million, I leave the city, you're free. I start over somewhere else, and you rebuild here without me. The thought of him leaving, of existing in a world where Vincent wasn't a phone call away, made my chest tight. What's option 2? He stopped pacing, looked at me with eyes that promised violence I wasn't sure I was ready to witness but knew was coming anyway. Option 2. I go to war. I use every resource I have to destroy him before he can destroy me. I expose his operations, his crimes, everything he's built on the backs of people like you. But Lily, he crossed to me, took my hands, made sure I was really hearing him. If I choose option 2, it gets ugly. People get hurt. Some of them might be innocent. And you'll see sides of me I've tried very hard to keep from you. The parts of me that Sophia would be ashamed of. The parts that know how to break people and don't hesitate when it's necessary. Are you asking my permission? I'm asking which man you want me to be. The one who walks away for your safety, or the one who fights for both of us, even if it means becoming a monster. It was an impossible question. An unfair question. A question that required me to take responsibility for violence I didn't want but couldn't prevent. To choose between losing Vincent and keeping my hands clean. I thought about Emma's face on that video. About Derek's fists. About Marcus Reeves's smooth voice promising to use me in whatever capacity he deemed necessary. About 3 years of being manipulated, controlled, treated like a thing instead of a person. Fight. I squeezed his hands. Fight for us. And whatever happens, whatever you have to become, I'll still be here after. I'll still choose you. Relief and fear warred in his expression. You don't know what you're promising. Then show me. Let me see all of you. The good and the terrible and everything in between. Because I'm tired of people only showing me the parts they think I can handle. I'm stronger than that. He kissed me then, fierce and desperate and full of a promise I felt in my bones. When we broke apart, there was something different in his eyes. Determination, purpose, the look of a man who'd been given permission to stop holding back. Marcus. Vincent turned to his team. Change of plans. We're not negotiating. We're dismantling him. I want every file, every connection, every dirty secret he's ever tried to hide, and I want it done before tomorrow's press conference. Boss, that's 12 hours. Then we work fast. Call in every favor I'm owed. Activate every asset we have, and get Thompson on the line. Tell him it's time to burn down a city councilman. The room exploded into motion. Phones ringing, laptops opening. Men speaking in code I half understood about leverage and exposure and strategic destruction. And in the middle of it all, Vincent pulled me close and whispered, "Thank you for choosing me, for believing I'm worth fighting for. Always." My phone buzzed one more time. A final message from Marcus Reeves. "Wrong choice, Lily, but I admire the courage. See you soon. And when Vincent fails, because he will fail, I'll be waiting. Sweet dreams." Attached was a photo that made my blood freeze. Vincent's building, my old apartment, Emma's workplace, all marked with red X's. And below it, an address I didn't recognize, with a single word, tomorrow. Emma arrived at 2 a.m, dragged through Vincent's front door by Marcus and Cooper like a broken marionette whose strings had been cut. Her eyes were wild, mascara streaking down her cheeks in dark rivers. Her hands trembling so violently she could barely grasp the glass of water Vincent pressed into her palm with unexpected gentleness. She saw me and the tears came harder, wrenching sobs that shook her entire frame. I watched her from the couch, this woman who carried my mother's eyes and my childhood memories, and felt absolutely nothing. Or perhaps I felt everything at once, rage and grief and betrayal colliding so violently they canceled each other out, leaving me hollow as an abandoned shell on a beach, beautiful from a distance but empty when you looked inside. "Lily, please, I can explain." "Don't!" The word emerged flat, final as a headstone. "Just don't." Vincent positioned himself between us like a referee in a fight neither of us wanted but both of us needed. His body language carefully neutral, giving me space to navigate this destruction however I required. Behind him, his team continued their relentless work, phones ringing like distant bells, keyboards clicking out the rhythm of our salvation, the machinery of justice grinding forward while my family disintegrated in his living room. You saw the video. Emma's voice was small, stripped of everything except naked fear. "You know what I did. I know you sold me. For what? Money. Medical bills that were probably fabricated too. The cancer was real." She lurched forward with desperate energy, and Marcus caught her arm, held her back with professional efficiency. "I was dying, Lily. Actually dying. And Reeves, he offered me experimental treatment, specialists, drugs that could save my life. All I had to do was feed him information about me, keep me isolated, help Derek control me, make sure I stayed desperate enough to sign whatever papers he shoved in front of me." I stood, and she flinched like I'd raised a hand to strike her. "You were dying, and you chose to survive by sacrificing me instead. That's not fair. None of this is fair." My voice cracked like ice breaking. "I worked 3 jobs for you. I signed away 5 years of my life for you. I stayed with a man who used me as a punching bag because I was too exhausted to leave, too broke to run, too convinced that your survival justified my suffering. And the whole time, you were working with the man who orchestrated it all." Emma's face crumpled. She slid down the wall like water and sat on Vincent's expensive hardwood floor. Her designer clothes, bought with blood money, I suddenly understood, rumpled and stained with the evidence of her guilt. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought once I was better, once I was in remission, I could stop, could tell you the truth, could somehow make it right, but you didn't stop. He wouldn't let me." She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes full of a terror I recognized because I'd worn it myself for years. Once I started giving him information, he had leverage, recordings of our conversations, proof of my involvement. He said if I didn't keep cooperating, he'd make sure I went to prison for fraud, conspiracy, accessory to all the things you actually did. The silence that followed was brutal in its completeness. Vincent's phone shattered the moment. He checked it, his expression tightening in a way I'd learned meant bad news arriving on bad news. "Thompson's here. He has information on Reeves's operation." His eyes found mine across the wreckage of my family. "Do you want Emma present for this? Or should we move her to another room?" I looked at my sister, small and broken, and still somehow expecting forgiveness she hadn't earned and probably never would, and made a choice that felt like amputating a limb to save the body. She stays. She's part of this whether we like it or not, and if we're going to survive it, we need to know everything she knows about the man who's been playing us all. Thompson arrived looking like he'd aged a decade overnight, rumpled clothes, stubble shadowing his jaw, the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that comes from staring at screens too long in search of secrets people died to protect. He carried a laptop and 3 overstuffed file folders that landed on the table with the weight of damnation. "You're not going to like this," he said without preamble, without softening the blow. "Any of it." Vincent gestured for him to continue. We gathered around the dining table, me, Vincent, Marcus, Cooper, James, and Emma, still on the floor like a penitent seeking absolution from a god who'd stopped listening. Thompson opened the first folder with hands that shook slightly. "Marcus Reeves has been running this acquisition scheme for 12 years. We found records of 47 individuals who signed contracts similar to Lily's. Medical debt, student loans, mortgages about to default. He finds people in crisis and offers solutions that are really traps with the bait still visible. What happened to them?" My voice was steady, clinical. "The other 47 people," Thompson's expression was grim. 18 are still in his employment. Various capacities, domestic workers, assistants, occasionally more specialized roles we're still trying to identify. 12 bought their way out by finding replacements or family members willing to sign substitute contracts, passing their chains to someone they loved. 9 disappeared entirely, no records after their contracts activated. No social media, nothing, like they were erased. And the other 8? Dead. Thompson slid over autopsy reports with photos I wished I hadn't seen. Ruled suicides or accidents, but the timing is suspicious. All of them died within 6 months of trying to break their contracts or go to authorities. The room went cold. Someone had opened a window to winter. Vincent's hand found mine under the table. Squeezed once. I'm here, you're not alone. We'll survive this together. Show me the specialized roles, Vincent said quietly, his voice carrying an edge I'd learned to fear. The ones you're still trying to identify. Thompson hesitated, glanced at me, back to Vincent. Some of them appear to be honey traps. People Reeves places near targets he wants leverage on. They build relationships, gather intelligence, create compromises he can exploit later for profit or power. Understanding hit me like a physical blow, stealing my breath. I was supposed to be positioned near you, to gather information about your operations. That's what the contract was really for. We believe so, yes. Thompson pulled up a document on his laptop. There are notations in Reeves's files about VM's acquisition. Vincent Marchetti, we assume. References to positioning you as a long-term intelligence asset. The plan was to have you eventually work directly for Vincent in some capacity where you'd have access to sensitive information. But I already worked at his club. I'd been serving him for 3 months before he ever spoke to me, which suggests the timeline accelerated dramatically. Thompson looked at Vincent. When did you first move Derek out of the city? Pay her debts? 3 weeks ago. And when did Reeves burn his own office and threaten Lily directly? 2 days ago. So Reeves's timeline went from years-long cultivation to immediate activation in less than a month. Thompson closed the laptop with a finality that echoed. Something you did scared him? Made him think he was losing control of the situation. Made him desperate enough to accelerate and risk exposure. Vincent was quiet, his mind clearly racing through possibilities, calculating moves in a game only he could see. I started investigating his operation openly. Stopped hiding my interest in Lily. Made it clear she was under my protection. He saw me disrupting his plans and decided to force a confrontation before I could dismantle his entire network piece by piece. Which brings us to tomorrow's press conference. Thompson opened the second folder. We've been monitoring his communications. He's planning to expose your operations, yes. But more specifically, he's planning to frame you for the fire at MedFuture Financial. The one that killed his employee? How? I wasn't anywhere near that building. I have alibis, witnesses, digital evidence. Thompson pulled out printouts covered in numbers that might as well have been hieroglyphics. He's fabricated a money trail that makes it look like you hired someone to commit arson to destroy records of Lily's contract. He's going to position himself as the victim, a civic-minded businessman whose attempts to help people in medical crisis were sabotaged by a crime lord trying to free his girlfriend. The audacity was breathtaking in its cruelty. He kills his own employee, burns his own building, and frames Vincent for it. I looked at Vincent, seeing the trap close around him in real time, while simultaneously using the press conference to destroy your reputation and force you out of the city. And if I stay, if I fight back, he has what he thinks is legal claim to you via the contract. Vincent's jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. He wins either way. Either I leave and he gets to use you however he wants, or I stay and fight and he destroys me publicly while keeping you as leverage to control my response. So we're trapped. Not necessarily. Thompson opened the third folder, and for the first time since arriving, he smiled. Because while Reeves was busy setting his elaborate trap, I was busy setting mine. These are financial records from the real MedFuture operation, the legitimate medical financing company Reeves bought 2 years ago specifically to use as a front. And buried in here are records of every fake invoice, every inflated bill, every fraudulent claim he's submitted to insurance companies over 3 years. Insurance fraud on a massive scale. Millions of dollars, possibly tens of millions. And better yet, Thompson pulled out another document with barely contained satisfaction. He's been using a shell corporation to launder the money. A shell corporation registered under his actual name because he got sloppy 6 months ago when his usual lawyer retired. Vincent leaned forward, something predatory awakening in his expression. How sloppy? Sloppy enough that I can tie him directly to fraud, money laundering, and if we're lucky, the murder of his employee. Because the employee who died, Thompson showed us a photo of a woman in her 40s, attractive, tired-looking. Her name was Jennifer Reeves. Marcus's ex-wife, who'd been threatening to expose his operations unless he paid her a substantially larger divorce settlement. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. He killed his ex-wife and destroyed evidence of his fraud in one fire, made it look like an accident, and was planning to blame Vincent for it to eliminate the only real threat to his operation. Exactly. And now we have everything we need to destroy him first. Thompson looked at Vincent with something like hope. The question is, what do you want to do with it? Vincent stood, paced to the windows, looked out at the city sprawled beneath us like a kingdom he'd built and might lose, lights twinkling like stars that had fallen to earth and forgotten how to rise again. I watched the tension in his shoulders, the calculation in his posture, and knew he was deciding between the man who walked away from conflict and the man who ended it with permanent violence. Vincent. I crossed to him, placed my hand on his back. Whatever you choose, I'm with you. But you need to know, I don't want you to become something you'll hate just to save me. If the cost of my freedom is your soul, the price is too high. He turned, and the look in his eyes was devastating in its naked vulnerability. My soul was gone long before I met you, Lily. Sophia's death took it. The years I spent building an empire on violence and fear just made the absence more obvious, more permanent. But you, he touched my face with a gentleness that contradicted everything about this moment, this night, this impossible situation. You make me want to be better, to choose mercy over revenge, to believe that maybe I can be the man she would have wanted me to be instead of the monster I became after losing her. Then be that man, even if it's harder. Even if it means Reeves wins in the short term. He won't win. Vincent's smile was sharp as broken glass. Because I'm going to give all of Thompson's evidence to the FBI. Let them handle Reeves through legal channels. No violence, no revenge, no becoming the thing you're afraid I'll become. Just justice. Slow and bureaucratic and completely devastating to everything he's built. And your operations, the things he'll expose about you. I'll give them evidence of those too. Vincent's expression was calm, resolved, like a man who'd made peace with his own destruction. I'll cooperate fully. Take whatever consequences come from my past actions. Start over with a clean slate, if they'll let me. You could go to prison. Maybe, probably, but I'll do it knowing you're safe. That Reeves can't touch you. That I chose to protect you the right way instead of the easy way. The magnitude of what he was offering, his freedom for mine, his future for my safety, made my chest tight with emotions I couldn't name. I can't let you do that. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing this. He pulled me close, and I felt his heartbeat against my cheek, steady and certain. Because that's what love is, Lily. Choosing someone else's well-being over your own comfort. Choosing their freedom over your pride. Choosing to be better because they make you want to be worthy of them. From the floor, Emma made a sound, half sob, half bitter laugh. That's what I should have done. Chosen your freedom over my survival. Been willing to die rather than let them use me to hurt you. But I was a coward. I looked at my sister, broken and guilty, and finally understanding the cost of her choices, and felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. The recognition that people are complicated, that desperation makes monsters of us all, that choosing who to save when you're drowning isn't always a moral failure, but sometimes just human weakness. You can start now, I said quietly. Choose better now. Help us make sure no one else gets trapped the way I did. Emma looked up, hope flickering in her red-rimmed eyes like a candle in wind. How? Testify. Vincent's voice was firm, commanding. Tell the FBI everything you know about Reeves's operation. Every contract, every victim, every crime you witnessed or participated in. Help us put him away for so long he'll die in prison. He'll kill me. If I testify against him, he'll try. Vincent gestured to Marcus and Cooper. Which is why you'll be in protective custody, safe house, new identity if necessary, 24-hour security, whatever it takes to keep you alive long enough to see this through to the end. And after? After the trial? Do I... She looked at me, the question unspoken but clear in her eyes. Do I still have a sister? Do you still love me? Can we survive this together? I didn't know the answer. Didn't know if the damage could be repaired or if we'd both just be walking wounded for the rest of our lives. carrying scars that never quite healed, connected by blood but separated by betrayal. After, we figure it out, one day at a time. I couldn't promise more than that. Couldn't guarantee forgiveness I wasn't sure I'd ever feel, but it was something. Emma nodded, wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, and let Marcus help her to her feet with surprising gentleness. I'll do it. I'll testify against Reeves. I'll help fix what I broke, even if it takes the rest of my life. Thompson was already on the phone with someone at the FBI. Vincent was coordinating with his team about evidence handoff procedures. The room hummed with purposeful activity, the sound of careful plans being executed, of justice grinding slowly but inexorably forward. And in the middle of it all, Vincent pulled me into his study and closed the door, muffling the chaos outside. Before this gets more complicated, before the FBI arrives and everything becomes official, I need to tell you something important. The seriousness in his voice made my pulse quicken with dread. Okay. The evidence Thompson found is comprehensive enough to put Reeves away for decades, maybe life. But there's a complication we need to address. Vincent ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I'd learned meant he was struggling with something. Your contract, the one you signed with Med Future, it's legally binding. Even with Reeves in prison, even with his operation dismantled, the contract technically still exists in the legal system. My stomach dropped like a stone into dark water. So I'm still legally obligated to fulfill the terms unless we can prove coercion or fraud, which will take time and expensive lawyers and isn't guaranteed to succeed. His expression was tortured. The FBI will seize it as evidence. Use it in their case against Reeves, which means it becomes public record, which means everyone will know you signed away 5 years of your life to a predator. Everyone will know I'm property. The word tasted like ash and copper. Vincent's hands found my face, forcing me to look at him, to see the conviction in his eyes. You're not property. You're a person who was exploited by a predator who knew exactly which vulnerabilities to target. And we'll fight the contract with everything we have. We'll hire the best lawyers money can buy. We'll do whatever it takes to invalidate it and set you free. But in the meantime, you stay here, safe, protected. And we build a case together, not just against Reeves, but against the contract itself, against the entire predatory system that allowed this to happen to 47 people. A knock on the door. Thompson's voice. Urgent. FBI's here. Multiple agents. They want to talk to everyone involved in this operation. Vincent's thumb traced my cheekbone with aching tenderness. Last chance to run, to disappear before this becomes official. I have resources. I can get you out of the country, give you a new identity, make sure you're safe even if I go to prison for my past crimes. No. Lily. No, I'm not running. Not from this, not from you, not from the consequences of choices other people made for me. I'm staying, I'm fighting, and I'm doing it standing beside you instead of hiding behind you like some damsel who needs constant rescue. Pride flickered across his expression, there and gone, but real enough to make my chest ache with the weight of being seen. Then let's go face this together. We emerged from the study to find Vincent's living room transformed into a federal command center, agents in windbreakers with FBI blazoned across their backs, guns visible on hips, notebooks out and ready to document the downfall of a city councilman and possibly a crime lord too. The lead agent, a woman named Chen who looked exhausted and determined in equal measure, approached Vincent with handcuffs visible on her belt, a warning and a promise. Vincent Marchetti, we need you to come with us for questioning. We have evidence suggesting involvement in organized crime, money laundering, and potentially the murder of Jennifer Reeves. Vincent's face was calm, accepting, like he'd been preparing for this moment his entire life. I understand. I'll cooperate fully and answer every question honestly. But first, I need to make sure Lily Morgan is placed in protective custody. Marcus Reeves has made credible threats against her life, and she's a crucial witness in your case against him. Chen's eyes found me across the room, assessing, Mrs. Morgan, we've been investigating Marcus Reeves for 18 months. We know about Med Future, about the contracts, about the victims who disappeared or died. She softened slightly, unexpectedly. And we know about you, about what he did to you, what your sister did to you. The sympathy in her voice was almost worse than judgment would have been. If you're willing to testify, we can protect you. Safe house, new identity if needed, full witness protection until the trial concludes. She glanced at Vincent with something unreadable in her expression. But you need to understand something important. If Vincent Marchetti is found guilty of the crimes we're investigating, you'll need to distance yourself from him completely. Association with a convicted felon could compromise your credibility as a witness and destroy our case. Translation. Choosing Vincent meant potentially losing justice against Reeves. Choosing justice meant losing Vincent. I looked at the man who'd paid my debts and moved my abuser across the country, and offered me a panic button disguised as jewelry and fallen in love with me despite every logical reason not to. The man who was about to sacrifice his freedom to ensure I had mine. I'll testify against Reeves. I'll do whatever you need to put him away forever. But I'm not abandoning Vincent just to make your case easier. If loving him costs me credibility, then I'll find another way to be useful to your investigation. But I won't pretend he doesn't matter to me. Chen studied me for a long moment, then nodded with what might have been respect. Fair enough. We'll figure something out. She turned to Vincent. You're not under arrest yet, but we need you to come to the field office voluntarily for extensive questioning. Are you willing to do that without requiring a warrant? Yes. Vincent looked at Marcus with an expression I couldn't quite read. Take care of her and Emma. Make sure they're both safe until this is over, no matter what it costs. Boss. That's an order, not a request. Marcus nodded, jaw tight with emotion he was trying to hide. Vincent turned to me one last time, kissed me, slow and deep and full of everything we hadn't said yet. Everything we might not get the chance to say if the system decided he was irredeemable. I love you, he whispered against my mouth, his breath warm on my skin. Whatever happens next, whatever they decide about me, remember that. I chose you. I'd choose you again. Every single time. I love you too. The agents led him away with professional efficiency. I watched through the massive windows as they guided him into an unmarked car. Watched the taillights disappear into the pre-dawn darkness like stars burning out. Watched the man I loved vanish into a system I wasn't sure would give him back to me. Chen approached, her expression gentler now that Vincent was gone. Ms. Morgan, we need to take your statement. Everything you know about Marcus Reeves, the contract, your sister's involvement, the entire operation. It's going to be a very long day, possibly multiple days. I'll tell you everything. Every detail, no matter how small or painful. Good. She hesitated, then added quietly. And for what it's worth, I've been investigating Marchetti for 3 years, built multiple cases that fell apart. I've never seen him care about anyone the way he cares about you. Whatever else he's done, whatever crimes he's committed, that part's real. That part's worth something. It was small comfort in an ocean of uncertainty, but it was something to hold on to. My phone buzzed against my thigh. Unknown number. Against every instinct screaming at me not to, I checked it. A video file. No message, no context. I pressed play, and my blood turned to ice water. Marcus Reeves, in what looked like an expensive hotel room. Behind him, a whiteboard covered in photos. Me, Vincent, Emma, Thompson, even Agent Chen. All of us marked with red X's except mine, which had a circle drawn around it in what looked like blood. His voice, smooth as poisoned honey. Lily. By now the FBI has probably taken Vincent into custody, and you're probably feeling very brave, very protected, very certain that justice will prevail and good will triumph over evil like in all those fairy tales. But here's what you need to understand about the real world. I have copies of everything. Every file Thompson found, every piece of evidence you think will put me away. And I have people inside the FBI who owe me substantial favors. People who will make sure your testimony never sees a courtroom. People who will ensure Vincent Marchetti goes to prison for the rest of his life while I walk free and continue my work. He smiled at the camera with genuine warmth, like he was greeting an old friend. So here's my final offer, and I suggest you take it seriously. Tomorrow at noon, you come to the address I'm about to send you. You come alone, without Vincent's protection, without FBI surveillance. You sign new papers, better papers, clearer papers, papers that even the FBI can't invalidate or question. And in exchange, I'll provide evidence that clears Vincent of the murder charge completely. Evidence that makes him a hero instead of a criminal, a good man who was trying to help you. Your freedom for his seems fair, doesn't it? Seems like exactly the kind of trade someone who loves him would make. The video ended abruptly. A new message appeared with surgical precision. An address. a time, and 8 words that made my blood run cold and my decision inevitable. Come alone, or Vincent dies in custody tonight. The FBI safe house smelled like industrial cleaner and fear. That particular combination of bleach and anxiety that seeps into government-owned furniture and never quite leaves. Agent Chen had deposited me here 3 hours ago with 2 agents whose names I'd already forgotten, a prepaid phone with exactly 3 numbers programmed into it, and instructions not to contact anyone, not to leave, not to do anything except wait for tomorrow's testimony preparation. I sat on the couch that probably cost taxpayers $40 and felt like sandpaper, staring at my personal phone, the one Chen didn't know I'd kept hidden in my bra, and Marcus Reeves's ultimatum burning into my retinas every time I closed my eyes. Come alone, or Vincent dies in custody tonight. The rational part of my brain understood it was likely a bluff. Vincent was in FBI custody, surrounded by federal agents, protected by the same system that was trying to dismantle him. Reeves couldn't possibly reach him there. But the part of my brain that had lived with Derek's violence for 3 years, that had signed away 5 years of freedom to save a sister who'd betrayed me, that had watched a building burn with a woman inside, that part knew better than to assume powerful men were constrained by things like locked doors and federal jurisdiction. I checked the time. 8 p.m., 16 hours until Reeves's deadline. The bathroom window was small but not impossible. 2nd floor. But there was a tree close enough to the building that someone desperate, someone like me, could probably manage it. The agents were in the kitchen making coffee, their voices a low murmur of shop talk and sports scores, the comfortable sound of people who thought the danger was outside instead of sitting on their couch planning an escape. My phone buzzed. Text from the unknown number. TikTok, Lily. I hope you're not making the mistake of thinking the FBI can protect him. I've attached a live feed from the holding facility. Watch what happens when I make a call. I opened the attachment with trembling fingers. Security footage. Black and white, grainy, but clear enough. Vincent in what looked like an interrogation room, sitting across from Agent Chen and another man in a suit. Vincent's posture was relaxed, his hands folded on the table, his expression calm as he answered questions I couldn't hear. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, red and ominous. I watched Vincent stand, watched Chen reach for her weapon, watched the door burst open and 3 men in corrections officer uniforms flood in. But they weren't moving like officers. They moved like soldiers. Like Marcus's team had moved when they'd extracted Emma. The feed cut out. My phone rang immediately. Reeves's voice, smooth as ever. Did you enjoy the show? Those officers work for me. Right now, they're escorting Vincent to a transport vehicle under the guise of moving him to a more secure location. In approximately 10 minutes, that vehicle will be involved in a tragic accident on Highway 95. There will be no survivors. Unless, of course, you'd like to prevent that. You're lying. My voice shook despite my best efforts. The FBI would never let... The FBI is comprised of human beings. Lily. Human beings with mortgages and gambling debts and mistresses they don't want their wives to know about. Human beings I've spent years cultivating and compromising. Did you really think Vincent was the only one in this city with resources? Through the phone, I heard an engine starting. Tires on pavement. You have 9 minutes to decide. Come to the address I sent you. Come alone. Sign the papers. And I'll make a call that redirects that vehicle back to FBI custody with Vincent unharmed. Or don't come. And spend the rest of your life knowing you could have saved him but chose principle over love. How do I know you'll keep your word? You don't. That's the beauty of trust, isn't it? It's always a leap. But ask yourself this. What have you got to lose? Your freedom. You were signing that away the moment you signed the MedFuture contract. At least this way, you're choosing who benefits from your sacrifice. At least this way, Vincent lives. The line went dead. 8 minutes. I looked at the bathroom window, at the tree branch, at the 2 agents in the kitchen who were supposed to keep me safe but had no idea I was about to destroy their night by disappearing. I thought about Vincent's hands on my face, his voice in the darkness of his penthouse. I chose you. I'd choose you again. Every single time. I thought about Sophia's gap-toothed smile in that photograph. About Vincent spending 20 years trying to save people because he'd failed to save one little girl. About how love was choosing someone else's well-being over your own comfort, your own freedom, your own future. 7 minutes. I grabbed my jacket, climbed onto the bathroom counter, forced the window open. It screamed in protest, ancient paint cracking, and squeezed through into the November cold. The tree branch was exactly as far as it looked. I jumped, caught it, felt bark scrape my palms raw as I hung for a suspended moment between safety and free fall. Then I was climbing down, dropping the last 6 feet into bushes that scratched my face and tore my jacket. Behind me, shouting, the agents had heard the window. I ran. The street was dark, residential, the kind of neighborhood where people minded their own business and didn't ask questions about women running like their lives depended on it. I flagged down a cab 2 blocks away, gave the driver the address Reeves had sent, watched the safe house disappear behind us as agents poured out the front door too late to stop me. My phone buzzed. Chen's number. Ms. Morgan, what the hell do you think you're doing? Get back here immediately or what? You'll arrest me. I'm a victim, remember? Not a criminal. I watched the city blur past the window. And right now, I'm choosing to save the man I love instead of trusting a system that let Marcus Reeves operate for 12 years while you built cases that kept falling apart. Lily, listen to me. Whatever Reeves told you, it's a lie. Vincent is safe. We have him in a secure... Then why did I just watch security footage of 3 of your officers taking him out of the building? Silence on the other end. What footage? Check your holding facility. Check if Vincent's still there. Because if he is, I'll come back. But if he's not, if Reeves is telling the truth and you've lost him, then your word means nothing, and I'm making my own choices. I hung up before she could respond. 5 minutes. The address was a warehouse near the docks, because of course it was, because men like Marcus Reeves couldn't resist the theatrical symbolism of abandoned industrial spaces for their criminal theatrics. The cab driver gave me a concerned look as I paid him with cash from my pocket. You sure you want me to leave you here, miss? Doesn't look safe. It's not, but I'm doing it anyway. He drove away, and I was alone with the sound of water lapping against pylons and my own heartbeat drowning out rational thought. The warehouse door was open, waiting. I walked in. The space was vast and empty except for a table in the center with 2 chairs and a single overhead light that created a pool of illumination in an ocean of shadow. Marcus Reeves sat in one chair, immaculate in a suit that probably cost more than my car, looking like a businessman closing a deal instead of a predator springing a trap. Lily. Right on time. I admire punctuality. He gestured to the other chair. Please, sit. We have paperwork to complete. Where's Vincent? Safe. For now. Reeves pulled out his phone, showed me a video. Vincent, conscious, zip-tied in the back of a van, 3 armed men surrounding him. My people are waiting for my call. The call I'll make once you sign these documents. He slid a folder across the table. Inside, papers dense with legal language I didn't have time to parse. What am I signing? A new contract. Clearer terms, no ambiguity. 5 years of employment in my organization, doing whatever work I assign. In exchange, I drop all claims against Vincent, provide the FBI with evidence clearing him of the murder charge, and ensure he walks out of federal custody a free man. And if I refuse, then Vincent dies. His people will stage an accident, tragic transport collision, and you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you could have prevented it. Reeves leaned back, studying me. But you won't refuse. Because I understand you in a way Vincent never could. I know that you've spent your entire life sacrificing yourself for people you love. Your sister, your mother, even Derek in the beginning when you thought love meant absorbing someone else's pain. Self-sacrifice is your default setting, Lily. It's what makes you so perfectly exploitable. The truth of it was a knife between my ribs. You're right. I have spent my life making myself smaller so other people could be comfortable. I reached for the pen. But that's not what I'm doing now. I pressed the panic button on the bracelet Vincent had given me, the one Chen hadn't thought to confiscate because it looked like jewelry, and then I pressed record on my phone, hidden in my pocket and streaming everything to Thompson's secure server. Reeves's expression shifted, confusion to understanding to rage in the space of a heartbeat. What did you... The warehouse exploded with light and sound. FBI agents pouring in from doors I hadn't seen, voices shouting commands, weapons drawn and trained on Reeves with the precision of people who'd been waiting for exactly this moment. Agent Chen materialized beside me, yanked me out of the chair and behind her body with protective efficiency. Marcus Reeves, you're under arrest for kidnapping, extortion, conspiracy to commit murder. This is entrapment. Reeves was on his feet, his composure cracking. She came here voluntarily. I have witnesses. You have accomplices. Chen smiled. And thanks to Ms. Morgan's cooperation, we have everything we need. The fake security footage you sent her, we traced it back to your server. The phone calls, recorded, and your confession just now about having people inside the FBI and staging Vincent's transport. She held up her own phone. We got all of it. 2 agents grabbed Reeves, forced his hands behind his back, cuffed him with the same mechanical efficiency they'd probably used on Vincent hours earlier. As they dragged him past me, he leaned close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne. This isn't over. I have lawyers, connections, resources you can't imagine. I'll be out in days, and when I am, you'll be in prison for the rest of your life. I met his eyes without flinching, because I'm testifying. Emma's testifying, and all those other victims you thought you'd silenced. Chen found them, and they're all ready to tell their stories. His expression promised violence, his handcuffs prevented him from delivering. Then he was gone, swallowed by federal agents and the justice system he'd thought he could buy his way out of. Chen turned to me. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever witnessed. Possibly both. Where's Vincent? Is he actually safe? Or was that video real? He's safe. We moved him to a secure location an hour ago when we realized Reeves had people inside our facility. She helped me to my feet. The video was real, but those weren't our officers. They were Reeves's people in stolen uniforms. We intercepted them before they got Vincent out of the building. Relief made my knees weak. So this was a trap. You were using me as bait. We were giving you the opportunity to be a hero. Chen's expression softened. You could have stayed in the safe house, could have trusted us to handle it. Instead, you ran toward danger to save someone you love. That takes courage most people don't have. Or it takes being desperate and in love with a man who's probably going to prison anyway. About that. Chen pulled out another folder. While you were playing bait, Thompson and his team finished analyzing Vincent's operations. Turns out most of what Reeves claimed about him was exaggerated or fabricated. Vincent's businesses are surprisingly legitimate. The money laundering charges won't stick. The organized crime connections are mostly circumstantial. So he's free? Not exactly. He'll still face some charges, tax evasion, probably, and some licensing violations, but nothing that carries serious prison time. With his cooperation in bringing down Reeves, he's looking at fines and probation rather than decades behind bars. The weight that had been crushing my chest for hours lifted slightly. Can I see him? Not yet. He's still being processed. But soon. She handed me her card. In the meantime, you need to come back to the field office. We have about 40 hours of testimony to prepare, and tomorrow Reeves's lawyers are going to try every trick in the book to discredit you. We need you ready. I'm ready now. Chen studied me for a long moment. Yeah, I think you are. The ride back to the field office felt longer than the cab ride to the warehouse. I watched the city pass outside the window. Normal people living normal lives. Unaware that somewhere in this concrete sprawl, a predator had been captured and a system had finally worked the way it was supposed to. My phone buzzed. Text from Vincent's number, but not from Vincent Thompson here. Boss wanted you to know he's okay, and he's proud of you, and he loves you. Those are direct quotes. Also, he said to tell you that you're a reckless idiot and he's going to have a heart attack before he's 40 if you keep making decisions like the one you made tonight. That's also a direct quote. I smiled despite everything. Tell him I love him too, and that reckless idiots who love each other probably deserve each other. 3 dots appeared. Then, he says you're absolutely right, and he can't wait to spend the rest of his life proving it. The field office was chaos, agents processing evidence, phones ringing with media calls about Marcus Reeves's arrest, the machinery of justice grinding forward with the slow inevitability of bureaucracy doing its job. Chen set me up in a conference room with coffee and files and a recorder. Start from the beginning. Meeting Vincent, the bruises, Derek, Emma, everything. We need a complete timeline. I talked until my voice was raw. Walked them through 3 years of manipulation and violence and finally finding someone who saw me as worth saving. Showed them the contract, the messages, the videos, gave them everything I had and then gave them more. Dawn was breaking when I finally finished. Chen looked as exhausted as I felt. That's enough for now. Get some rest. We'll continue this afternoon. When can I see Vincent? He's being released in about an hour. We'll have a car take you both to a hotel, somewhere safe until the trial. You'll have security, but you'll be together. Together. The word felt like a promise. They put me in a waiting room with more terrible government coffee and magazines from 3 years ago. I must have dozed off because suddenly Chen was shaking my shoulder gently. He's here. I looked up. Vincent stood in the doorway looking like he'd been through a war. Rumpled clothes, stubble darkening his jaw, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. But his eyes when they found me were everything I needed to see. Relief, love, recognition. I crossed the room in 3 strides. He caught me, pulled me against him with a desperation that suggested he'd thought he might never hold me again. You scared the hell out of me, he said into my hair. When Thompson told me you'd run from the safe house, I had to. He said you were going to die if I didn't. I know. Chen told me everything. He pulled back enough to look at me, his hands framing my face. You walked into a trap to save me. You risked everything. You were willing to go to prison to keep me safe. I kissed him. Soft, brief. A promise of more to come when we had privacy and time. Seemed fair to return the favor. We're both idiots. Probably. But we're idiots who love each other. That has to count for something. Chen cleared her throat from the doorway. As touching as this is, we need to move you both to the secure hotel. Reeves's lawyers are already trying to get him released on bail, and until we're certain he's staying locked up, you're both potential targets. The hotel was nicer than anywhere I'd stayed in years. Real room service, a bed that didn't creak, windows that actually blocked sound from the street. 2 security agents stationed in the hallway outside. Chen's number on speed dial. Instructions not to leave until the trial concluded. Vincent and I stood in the middle of the room, finally alone after a night that had aged us both decades. I don't know what happens now, I said quietly. After the trial, after Reeves is convicted or acquitted, after the contract is invalidated or upheld, I don't know what our future looks like. Neither do I. Vincent crossed to me, pulled me close. But I know what I want it to look like. I want to rebuild everything I've built. But better this time. Legitimate. Legal. Something Sophia would be proud of instead of ashamed. And I want to do it with you beside me. Even though I'm a reckless idiot who runs toward danger. Especially because of that. He smiled, tired but real. You're the bravest person I've ever met, Lily, and I don't deserve you. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to. We fell asleep tangled together, exhausted and traumatized and alive. I woke to my phone ringing. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. A woman's voice. Scared. Young. Is this Lily Morgan? Please. I need help. My name is Sophie Chen. Agent Chen's daughter, and Marcus Reeves just sent me a video. He says if my mom doesn't drop the charges, if you don't recant your testimony, he has people on the outside who will. The line went dead. My blood turned to ice. Vincent was already awake, reading my expression. What's wrong? I showed him the call log, the message notification that appeared as I stared at the screen. A video. Sophie Chen, maybe 19, tied to a chair in a room I didn't recognize. And Marcus Reeves's voice over the footage. Did you really think arresting me would end this? I told you, Lily, I have resources. People. Connections that run deeper than you can imagine. Tell Agent Chen to drop the charges by noon tomorrow, or her daughter learns exactly what happens to people who get in my way. The video played on loop in my mind even after I'd closed the phone. Sophie Chen's terrified eyes, the rope cutting into her wrists, Marcus Reeves's voice smooth as poison promising violence if we didn't comply. Vincent paced the hotel room like a caged animal. His phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with Thompson, with Marcus his driver, with people whose names I didn't know but whose loyalty he trusted without question. Agent Chen arrived within 20 minutes, her professional mask cracking the moment I showed her the video. That's my daughter. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she gripped the phone. That's my Sophie. She's supposed to be at college, Northwestern. She's supposed to be safe. Reeves got to her anyway. Vincent stopped pacing, his expression grim. He planned this. Had people in place waiting for the arrest. This isn't desperation, it's strategy. Chen's phone rang. She answered with a sharpness that could cut glass. Chen. A pause. Her face went pale. When? Another pause. I'm on my way. She hung up, looked at us with eyes that had seen too much and were about to see more. They found Sophie's roommate. Dead. Staged to look like suicide. Left a note saying she couldn't live with the guilt of helping kidnap Sophie for money. But that's not what happened. I stood, my legs unsteady. Reeves killed her. Eliminated a witness and created a narrative where Sophie went willingly. Exactly. And without the roommate, without witnesses, we have no proof Sophie was taken by force. Chen's professionalism was fracturing in real time. Which means Reeves's lawyers will argue she's not kidnapped. She's just a young woman making poor choices. And without a kidnapping charge, his bail gets approved. How long until the bail hearing? 6 hours. Vincent's expression went cold in a way I'd learned to recognize. The mask dropping, the civilized man stepping aside to let something more primal take control. Then we have 6 hours to find Sophie and bring her home. Marchetti, I can't let you... You can't stop me either. Vincent was already moving, grabbing his jacket, checking his phone. Your hands are tied by procedure and oversight. Mine aren't. I have resources you don't have access to and a willingness to cross lines you can't cross. So you have a choice. You can try to stop me and waste time you don't have, or you can look the other way for 6 hours and let me do what I do best. Chen stared at him for a long moment. The agent and the criminal, the mother and the strategist, the woman who'd spent 3 years trying to put him in prison, and the man who might be her daughter's only chance at survival. I didn't hear any of that. She grabbed her bag. And I was never here. But Marchetti, if you hurt my daughter, if she becomes collateral damage in whatever you're planning, I won't let that happen. Vincent's voice carried absolute conviction. I have a sister buried in Chicago. I know what it's like to fail someone you love. I won't let you live with that. Chen nodded once and left, her footsteps echoing down the hallway like a countdown clock ticking towards something irreversible. Vincent turned to me, and I saw the question in his eyes before he voiced it. I need you to stay here. Safe. Protected. Let me handle this without worrying about you walking into danger. No. Lily. No. I crossed to him, placed my hands on his chest, felt his heart hammering beneath expensive fabric. You told me yesterday that love means choosing someone's well-being over your own comfort. That works both ways. I'm not sitting in a hotel room while you risk your life to save someone else. We do this together, or I follow you anyway and make it more dangerous for both of us. He studied my face like he was memorizing it, like he thought this might be the last time he saw me intact and wanted to remember every detail. You're not going to let me protect you, are you? I'm going to let you fight beside me. That's different. Something shifted in his expression, resignation mixed with pride, fear tangled with respect. Then we need to move fast. He pulled out his phone, sent a rapid series of texts. Marcus is pulling up surveillance footage from Northwestern's campus. Thompson is running Sophie's digital footprint to find the last place she accessed her phone. And I'm calling in every favor I'm owed to find out where Reeves would stash a hostage he plans to use as leverage. Where do we start? With the assumption that Reeves is playing chess while everyone else plays checkers. He's in federal custody, but that doesn't mean he's powerless. He has people on the outside executing his strategy, so we find his people, and we follow them to Sophie. Vincent's phone buzzed. Thompson's name on the screen. Talk to me. Vincent listened, his expression darkening. You're sure? Another pause. Send me the address. We're moving now. He hung up, grabbed car keys I didn't know he had. Sophie's phone pinged a cell tower in Garriott, Indiana 40 minutes ago. Industrial area, mostly abandoned warehouses. Classic Reeves. He loves his theatrical locations. That's over an hour away. The bail hearing is in 6 hours. Then we drive fast. The car was waiting in the hotel's underground garage. Not the black SUV I'd become accustomed to, but something sleeker, faster. The kind of vehicle that suggested speed was more important than comfort. Vincent drove with the precision of someone who'd done this before, weaving through traffic with controlled aggression that somehow never felt reckless. I watched the city blur past my window and thought about Sophie Chen, 19 years old, probably terrified, wondering if her mother's career had just signed her death warrant. I thought about Sophia, Vincent's sister, 7 years old and trusting that her brother would save her. I thought about all the ways love becomes a weapon that gets turned against us. All the ways caring about people makes us vulnerable to those willing to exploit that vulnerability. What are you thinking? Vincent's voice pulled me from the spiral that Marcus Reeves understands love better than most people. He knows it's not a strength, it's a liability. Something that can be used to make rational people do irrational things. Is that what we're doing? Being irrational? Probably. But I'd rather be irrational and fighting than rational and safe while someone dies because we chose self-preservation over action. Vincent reached across the console, found my hand, squeezed once. I knew I loved you the moment you smiled at that drunk man at the gala instead of hitting him. But I think I'm falling in love with you all over again right now. With this version of you who runs toward danger instead of hiding from it. Maybe that's who I always was. Maybe Derek and the debt and all of it just convinced me I had to be small to survive. Maybe you just reminded me I could take up space. Then let's take up all the space we need. Together. Gary, Indiana looked exactly like a place where kidnapped victims went to disappear. Rusted industrial skeletons, broken windows, streets so empty they felt post-apocalyptic. Vincent navigated using GPS coordinates Thompson had sent, pulling up to a warehouse that looked abandoned but showed signs of recent activity. Fresh tire tracks in the dirt, a padlock on the door that was too new, too shiny. We go in quiet. Vincent pulled a gun from the glove compartment, checked the chamber with practiced efficiency, assessed the situation, count how many of Reeves's people are inside. Then we call Chen and let her bring in the FBI to make it official. You're not going to handle this yourself? I'm not who I used to be, Lily. Or maybe I'm trying not to be. He looked at me, and I saw the war happening behind his eyes. For you. For Sophia's memory. For the man I want to become instead of the monster I've been. We approached the building from the side, using shadows and debris for cover. Vincent moved like water, silent and purposeful, and I did my best to match his rhythm, to become invisible the way I'd learned to be invisible in Derek's apartment, in Reeves's surveillance, in all the moments when being seen meant being hurt. The window was broken, easy access. Vincent boosted me up first, then followed, both of us dropping into darkness that smelled like oil and rust and something organic that made my stomach turn. Voices from deeper in the building, male, arguing. We crept closer, staying low, staying quiet. Through a doorway, I could see them. 3 men in tactical gear, weapons visible, and Sophie Chen tied to a chair in the center of the room. She was crying silently, mascara streaking her face, her Northwestern sweatshirt torn at the shoulder. One of the men was on the phone, his voice carrying, "I don't care what the lawyers say. Boss wants insurance. If the judge grants bail, great. If not, we use the girl as leverage to force Chen to drop charges. Either way, we win." Vincent's hand found mine in the darkness, squeezed once, a promise or a goodbye, I couldn't tell. Then he stepped into the light. "You're going to want to put your weapons down." The 3 men spun, guns rising, but Vincent was already moving. What happened next was violent and efficient and over before I could process the individual moments. Vincent disarming the first man with a move that looked like dancing, using the stolen weapon to cover the other 2. His voice calm as death as he gave them a choice. "Walk away now, or I put you down. You don't get paid enough to die for Marcus Reeves." The men looked at each other, calculated odds, decided correctly. They ran. Vincent was immediately at Sophie's side, cutting the ropes with a knife he'd pulled from somewhere, his hands gentle as he freed her. "You're safe. Your mother sent me. You're going to be okay." Sophie collapsed against him, sobbing, and I watched this man, this dangerous, violent, complicated man, hold a stranger's daughter with the same tenderness he'd shown me, the same desperation to save someone that had defined him since Sophia died. I called Chen, gave her the address, told her Sophie was safe. "How?" Chen's voice was tight with relief and suspicion in equal measure. "How did you find her?" "Vincent found her. And the men who took her just ran. You'll probably find them trying to leave the state if you move fast. I'll have units there in 10 minutes. Keep her safe until then." We waited in that warehouse that smelled like failure and rust. Vincent holding Sophie while she cried, me keeping watch at the window for either FBI agents or Reeves's men returning with reinforcements. Thank you. Sophie's voice was small, broken. I thought I was going to die. I thought they were going to kill me to hurt my mom. You're safe now. Vincent's voice was gentle in a way that made my chest ache. And your mom is going to make sure the man who did this never hurts anyone again. She talks about you sometimes. About how hard it is to investigate someone who's always 3 steps ahead. She almost respects you, I think. Even though you're supposed to be the bad guy. Maybe I am the bad guy. Vincent looked at me across Sophie's head. And I saw the question there. Am I? Can I be something else? But I'm trying to be better. For the people who deserve better from me. Sirens in the distance. Red and blue lights painting the walls. The FBI flooded in with overwhelming force. Chen leading them. Her professional mask shattering the moment she saw Sophie. She pulled her daughter into her arms with a fierceness that made me look away. Made me think about my own mother who I hadn't called in weeks. Made me understand that love was complicated and messy and sometimes the only thing that mattered. Chen approached us after Sophie was safely in an ambulance. Her expression unreadable. You broke about 40 laws getting her back. Probably more than that. Vincent didn't apologize. Didn't deflect. But she's alive. That's what matters. It is. Chen extended her hand, and Vincent shook it. The agent and the criminal acknowledging something that transcended their assigned roles. I owe you a debt I can't repay. But I can offer you something else. Immunity for today's activities. Full cooperation in your deal with the prosecutors. And my word that I'll make sure Reeves never sees daylight again. I don't need immunity for doing the right thing. Take it anyway. Because you're right. You're trying to be better. And people who are trying to be better deserve second chances. The bail hearing happened without us. Chen testified about the kidnapping. About Sophie's rescue. About evidence linking Reeves directly to the crime. The judge denied bail. Reeves would stay locked up until trial. And with Sophie's testimony added to mine and Emma's, his conviction was nearly guaranteed. We returned to the hotel as dawn was breaking, exhausted and traumatized and victorious in a way that felt hollow, because we'd had to become people we didn't want to be to achieve it. Vincent stood at the window watching the city wake up, his shoulders carrying weight I couldn't measure. I told myself I was done with violence, that I'd let the system handle Reeves. And then the moment someone I cared about was threatened, I reverted to exactly who I've always been. You saved a girl's life. That's not reverting. That's evolving. I crossed to him, wrapped my arms around him from behind. You could have killed those men. You had the opportunity, but you gave them a choice to leave. That's the man you're becoming. Vincent. Someone who chooses mercy when violence would be easier. And if next time mercy isn't enough, if next time someone dies because I hesitated, then we deal with it together. We figure out how to be good people in a world that doesn't always reward goodness. We keep trying even when it's hard. He turned in my arms, pulled me close, buried his face in my hair. I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. I pulled back enough to look at him. We deserve each other. We're both broken people trying to be whole. We're both learning how to choose love over fear. That's enough. My phone buzzed. Emma's number. Lily, her voice was raw. I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you days ago, but was too ashamed to admit. What? The contract you signed. I read it before you did. I saw the terms. The 5 years of service, the vague language about duties to be determined. And I knew what Reeves really wanted from you. She was crying now, words tumbling over each other. I knew it wasn't legitimate. I knew you were signing away your freedom. And I let you do it anyway because I wanted to live. Because I chose my survival over your autonomy. The confession landed like a physical blow. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm testifying tomorrow. And I need you to know the full truth before I do. I need you to understand exactly how deep my betrayal goes. She took a shaking breath. And I need you to know that I'm prepared for you to never forgive me. That I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make this right even though I know I never can. I looked at Vincent, at this man who'd spent 20 years trying to atone for failing his sister. I thought about cycles of guilt and redemption, about how carrying shame doesn't change the past but can destroy the future. Emma, I'm not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will be. But I'm ready to stop letting your choices define my life. I'm ready to build something new that isn't about what you took from me, but about what I'm claiming for myself. That's more than I deserve. Probably. But it's what I'm offering anyway. Because holding on to anger takes energy I'd rather spend on being happy. I hung up. Vincent was watching me with something like awe. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met. I'm just tired of being angry. Tired of letting other people's damage become my identity. I want to be more than a victim who survived. I want to be a person who built something beautiful from the wreckage. Then let's build it. Together, he kissed me, slow and deep and full of promises about futures we were still figuring out how to create. After the trial, after Reeves is convicted, after all of this is finally over, let's disappear somewhere and figure out who we are when we're not running from danger. I'd like that. We fell asleep tangled together, exhausted and hopeful and alive. I woke to Vincent's phone ringing, Thompson's name flashing on the screen. Vincent answered, listened, his expression going from confused to horrified. When? A pause. How is that possible? Another pause. We're on our way. He hung up, looked at me with eyes that had seen the future and found it wanting. Reeves escaped 20 minutes ago, during transport to the courthouse for a procedural hearing. 3 guards dead. Chen's been taken hostage. My blood turned to ice. How? They're still investigating. But Thompson thinks Reeves had help from inside. Someone high up. Someone with access to transport schedules and security protocols. Vincent was already dressing, moving with purpose. And he left a message, specifically for you. He showed me his phone. A video text from an unknown number. Marcus Reeves, in what looked like the back of a van, Agent Chen zip-tied beside him, her face bloody but her eyes defiant. His voice, smooth as ever. Lily, by now you know I'm free, and you probably think this is about revenge. But it's simpler than that. It's about finishing what I started. You signed a contract. I'm here to collect. You have 12 hours to come to me. Alone, no FBI, no Vincent, or Agent Chen pays for your defiance. And after her, everyone you love, Emma, Sophie, Vincent, one by one until you understand that some debts can't be escaped. The video ended. A new message appeared with an address and a single line. Come alone or watch everyone you love die. Final offer, midnight, don't be late. The address Marcus Reeves sent led to a place I recognized, the abandoned factory on the east side where Vincent had first told me about his sister, where he'd confessed that watching me had started as strategy and become something he couldn't control. Reeves had chosen it deliberately, I realized. He'd been listening to everything, watching everything, turning our most intimate moments into weapons he could deploy with surgical precision. Vincent paced the hotel room like a caged wolf. His phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with what remained of his team now that the FBI had been compromised. Thompson was tracking Reeves's digital footprint. Marcus was mobilizing every contact they had in local law enforcement who wasn't on Reeves's payroll. But we all knew the truth hanging heavy in the air between us. This was a trap, and I was going to walk into it anyway. You're not going alone. Vincent's voice carried the weight of absolute conviction. But I heard the fear underneath. The memory of Sophia, of promises he'd made and broken, of a little girl who'd trusted him to save her and died waiting. If I don't go alone, he kills Chen. If I bring you, he kills Chen. I was surprisingly calm, like I'd moved past fear into some realm where only clarity existed. And then he kills Emma and Sophie and anyone else he can use to hurt me. This ends tonight, Vincent. One way or another. Then let it end with both of us. He crossed to me, took my face in his hands with that tenderness that always undid me. I've spent 20 years trying to save people because I failed to save one. I'm not failing again. I'm not losing you the way I lost her. You're not losing me. I placed my hands over his. But you need to trust me to handle this my way, not as someone who needs saving, but as someone who's choosing to fight. What are you planning? I pulled out my phone, showed him the recording app I'd kept running since the warehouse in Gary. Every conversation with Reeves, every threat, every confession, documented, time-stamped, uploaded to a secure server Thompson had created. I'm planning to give him exactly what he wants. Me, compliant, willing to sign whatever papers he puts in front of me. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to get him talking. Get him to confess to everything. The murders, the kidnappings, the corruption inside the FBI, get it all on record. And then what? He signs the papers and you're legally his for 5 years. And then you come in with the FBI, the agents Chen trusts, the ones who aren't compromised, and arrest him with a confession so airtight his lawyers can't argue reasonable doubt. I smiled, but it felt fragile. The contract becomes void because it was signed under duress with documented coercion. I go free. Chen goes free. And Reeves spends the rest of his life in a cell thinking about how he lost because he underestimated a woman he thought was weak. Vincent stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. When did you become this? I've always been this. I just forgot for a while. Let people convince me that surviving meant making myself small. You reminded me I could take up space. Now I'm claiming all of it. He kissed me then. Fierce and desperate and full of everything we hadn't said yet. Everything we might not get the chance to say if this went wrong. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. If this doesn't work, he started. It will work. But if it doesn't, if Reeves figures out what you're doing, if he hurts you before we can get there, then you remember that I chose this, that I went in with my eyes open, that I loved you enough to fight for a future where we're both free. I pressed my forehead to his, and you let that be enough. You don't spend the next 20 years trying to atone for my choices the way you've been atoning for Sophia's death. You let me be responsible for my own life. I don't know if I can do that. Then learn. Because that's what love is, Vincent. Trusting someone enough to let them make their own mistakes. Believing they're strong enough to face consequences without you fixing everything. Thompson arrived with equipment, a wire so small it was nearly invisible, sewn into the lining of my jacket, a tracker in my shoe, a backup phone programmed to dial 911 if I press the side button 3 times in rapid succession. You'll have audio the whole time, Thompson said, his expression grim. And GPS tracking. The moment Reeves confesses to something actionable, we move in. How long do I need to keep him talking? Long enough for us to position teams around the building without him noticing. 20 minutes minimum. Longer would be better. 20 minutes. An eternity when you're sitting across from a man who's killed people for less than what I'd done to him. The drive to the factory felt both endless and too short. Vincent insisted on taking me. Marcus driving, both of them silent with the kind of tension that comes before battle. We parked 3 blocks away, and I walked the rest alone, my footsteps echoing on empty streets that had forgotten what safety looked like. The factory loomed against the night sky like a monument to decay. Broken windows, rusted metal, shadows that could hide anything. The door was propped open, waiting. I walked in. The space was vast and empty except for a table in the center where Marcus Reeves sat like a king holding court in his ruined kingdom. Agent Chen was zip-tied to a chair beside him, her face bruised but her eyes still sharp, still calculating. 2 armed men flanked them, hired muscle, professional and blank-faced. Lily. Reeves stood, ever the gentleman even in the midst of kidnapping and extortion. Punctual as always. I admire that about you. The consistency, the reliability. You always do exactly what's expected when someone you love is threatened. Let her go. I gestured to Chen. I'm here. I'll sign whatever you want, just let her go. In time, but first we talk. He gestured to an empty chair across from him. Sit. Let's discuss the terms of your employment like civilized people. I sat, felt the wire press against my ribs. A reminder that I wasn't alone even though I felt utterly isolated. The contract you signed 3 years ago was legally binding. Reeves pulled out papers, spread them across the table with care. But I'll admit, it was hastily drawn. Vague in places. Open to interpretation. So I've had my lawyers draft something clearer, more specific. He slid the new contract toward me. 5 years of service. Your duties will include intelligence gathering, relationship cultivation, and whatever other tasks I deem necessary. You'll live where I tell you, work where I tell you, associate with whom I tell you. In exchange, your sister remains free, Agent Chen survives tonight, and Vincent Marchetti doesn't have an unfortunate accident in the very near future. I picked up the papers, pretending to read while my mind raced. I needed him talking, needed him confessing, needed him to give me something concrete. Why me specifically? There must be dozens of vulnerable women you could exploit. Why go to all this trouble? Reeves smiled, pleased I'd asked. Because you're special, Lily. Not in the way Vincent thinks, though I'll admit, watching him fall for you is entertaining. But because you have a rare quality, you're intelligent enough to be useful but damaged enough to be controllable. You survived 3 years with an abusive boyfriend without breaking. You worked 3 jobs without complaining. You signed away your freedom to save your sister without hesitation. He leaned forward. That kind of loyalty, that capacity for self-sacrifice, it's valuable, it's exploitable, and I've built an empire on recognizing value others overlook. An empire built on exploiting desperate people. An empire built on understanding that desperation is the most reliable currency. Drugs wear off, money runs out, but desperation is renewable. Create the crisis, offer the solution, maintain just enough pressure to keep them compliant. It's elegant, really. And the people who tried to leave? The 9 who disappeared? His expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Acknowledgement of what we both knew but he'd never admitted. Sometimes assets become liabilities. Sometimes people need to be reminded that contracts have consequences. He pulled out a pen, offered it to me. But you're smarter than they were. You understand that survival means adaptation. That freedom is an illusion we tell ourselves to feel better about our cages. So sign the papers, Lily. Embrace the cage. At least this one comes with the knowledge that everyone you love stays alive. Everyone except Jennifer Reeves. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. What did you say? Your ex-wife. The one who died in the Med Future fire. The one who threatened to expose your operation unless you paid her more. I kept my voice level. Conversational. You killed her and staged it as an accident. Just like you killed your accountant when he started asking questions about the offshore accounts. Just like you would have killed Sophie Chen if her mother hadn't cooperated. Careful, Lily. You're making accusations you can't prove. Can't I? I met his eyes without flinching. You just confessed to running an exploitation operation, to creating crises and offering solutions, to making people disappear when they became problems, to threatening to kill Vincent, Chen, Emma, all of it recorded, all of it admissible. Reeves went absolutely still. Then he laughed, genuine amusement that made my skin crawl. You're wearing a wire. Of course you are. Vincent's influence, I assume. He always was better at strategy than I gave him credit for. He stood, and the armed men raised their weapons slightly. But here's what you need to understand about recording confessions, Kai Lily. They only matter if someone's alive to testify to their authenticity. And you're surrounded by people who work for me, in a building with no witnesses, with no one coming to save you. You're wrong about that last part. The door exploded inward. FBI agents flooded the building with overwhelming force. Chen's team, the ones she trusted, weapons drawn and voices shouting commands that echoed off rusted metal and broken dreams. Vincent came through a side entrance with Marcus and Thompson, his gun drawn but his eyes only on me. Checking, assessing, confirming I was alive and whole. Reeves's men dropped their weapons without resistance, professionals who knew when they were beat. But Reeves himself moved faster than I expected. Grabbed Chen, pulled her in front of him as a human shield, a knife appearing in his hand from somewhere, pressed to her throat. Everyone stops, or she dies. His composure had finally cracked, desperation bleeding through. Lily signs the contract right now, or I cut her throat and disappear before you can stop me. Marcus. Chen's voice was steady, despite the blade at her throat. It's over. You can't run from this. We have your confession. We have the bodies. We have 47 victims ready to testify. Even if you kill me, even if you escape tonight, you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Then I'll make it worth the inconvenience. He pressed the knife harder, and blood welled. Lily. The papers. Now. I looked at Vincent. At Thompson. At the agents who'd risked their careers to bring down a man who thought he was untouchable. And I made a choice. No. The single word echoed like a gunshot. No. Reeves's voice climbed an octave. You're willing to let her die for your pride? I'm willing to trust that she's strong enough to save herself, that we're all strong enough to face consequences without sacrificing our autonomy to avoid them. I stood, faced him directly. You spent 3 years trying to convince me I was weak, that I needed to make myself small to survive. That accepting your control was the only way to protect people I loved. But you were wrong. Survival isn't about accepting cages. It's about fighting your way out of them. Chen moved then, a technique she must have learned in training, using Reeves's overconfidence against him. She dropped her weight, twisted, broke his grip long enough for the knife to fall away. Agents swarmed before Reeves could recover, taking him down with professional efficiency, cuffing him while he screamed about lawyers and corruption and how he owned half the city. But he didn't own me. Not anymore. Chen stood, blood trickling from the shallow cut on her throat, and smiled. Nice speech. Very inspiring. She gestured to the medics who were rushing in. But next time, maybe trust the federal agent to handle the hostage situation without the philosophical grandstanding. Where's the fun in that? Vincent reached me before I could process what had happened, pulled me into his arms with a desperation that suggested he'd thought he might never hold me again. I felt his heart hammering against my cheek, felt the tremor in his hands, felt every ounce of fear he'd been carrying transform into relief. "Don't ever do that again," he said into my hair. "Do what? Get kidnapped or give inspiring speeches?" "Either. Both. Any of it." He pulled back enough to look at me, and his eyes were suspiciously bright. "I can't lose you, Lily. I know I'm supposed to trust you to make your own choices, but I can't watch you walk into danger without dying a little inside. Then we figure out how to live in a world where danger exists, but we don't let it define us." I touched his face, felt stubble rough beneath my palm. Together, as partners who trust each other enough to be scared, but brave enough to fight anyway. I can try to do that. That's all I'm asking, for both of us to try. The aftermath was bureaucratic and exhausting. Statements at the FBI field office that lasted until dawn, paperwork invalidating my contract, testimony preparation for the trial that would put Reeves away for life, Emma's tearful apology that I accepted without forgiving, because forgiveness was a journey, not a destination. Sophie Chen's gratitude expressed in a hug that lasted long enough to mean something. And through it all, Vincent beside me. Not fixing things or taking over, but present. Supporting without smothering. Trusting me to handle what I could handle and offering help only when I asked for it. 3 months later, the trial concluded. Reeves was convicted on 47 counts of exploitation, 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and enough financial crimes to keep him in prison until he died. The judge, in her sentencing remarks, called him a predator who weaponized compassion and turned love into a trap. Emma entered a treatment program, not just for the gambling that had started her spiral, but for the trauma and guilt she carried. We spoke once a week, slowly rebuilding something that might never be what it was, but could become something new. Chen was promoted, put in charge of a task force investigating predatory lending operations across 3 states. She sent me a bottle of wine with a note, for the woman who taught a federal agent that civilians can be heroes too. And Vincent? Vincent sold his questionable businesses, kept the legitimate ones, started a foundation for people escaping domestic violence, named it after Sophia, asked me to help run it because, as he said, you understand what it's like to need someone to believe you're worth saving. We didn't live in his penthouse. We found an apartment in a neighborhood that felt lived in and real, where people said hello in elevators and kids played in the street. We learned how to be normal people with normal problems, who did the dishes, who forgot to buy milk, who hogged the blankets at night. We learned how to love each other without the drama, without the danger, without crisis as the foundation. And it was harder than fighting Reeves had been. Some days I woke up and didn't know who I was without trauma defining me. Some days Vincent reverted to old patterns, trying to fix things instead of trusting me to handle them. Some days we fought about stupid things that were really about fear. Fear that this wouldn't last, that happiness was temporary, that we'd wake up and find it had all been an illusion. But we kept trying, kept choosing each other, kept believing that broken people could build something whole if they were willing to do the work. 6 months after the trial, Vincent took me back to that coffee shop on 6th and Main, where he'd first offered me a panic button and asked for nothing except the chance to care. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small velvet box, and my heart did something complicated. "Before you panic, it's not what you think. Or maybe it is. I'm honestly not sure I know the difference between a promise and a question anymore." He opened it. Inside, a ring. Simple, elegant, no diamonds, just a band of silver that matched the bracelet I still wore. "I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. Maybe not ever if that's not what you want. But I'm asking if you want to keep building this life with me. If you want to figure out who we are together when we're not just surviving but actually living. If you think what we have is worth protecting. I looked at this man who'd paid my debts and moved my abuser and fallen in love with me and learned how to trust me to save myself. This man who'd spent 20 years punishing himself for failing his sister and was finally learning that atonement wasn't the same as healing. Yes, to all of it. To building and figuring out and protecting what we have. I held out my hand, let him slide the ring onto my finger. But Vincent, you need to know something. What? I'm not fixed. I'm not healed. I still have nightmares about Derek. I still flinch sometimes when you move too fast. I still don't trust easily or love without fear. I'm still the woman who signed away 5 years because I thought other people's lives mattered more than mine. I know. And I'm still the man who built an empire on violence, who has blood on his hands he can't wash off, who sees threats everywhere and has to consciously stop himself from trying to control everything around you to keep you safe. He pulled me close. We're both still works in progress. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what love is. Two incomplete people choosing to be incomplete together instead of pretending they're whole. That's very philosophical for a former crime lord. I learned it from a woman who walked into a trap to save a federal agent she'd known for 3 days. You've made me better, Lily. Every single day, you make me want to be better. You did that yourself. I just reminded you it was possible. We sat in that coffee shop and drank perfectly made cappuccinos and watched people live their normal lives. And for the first time since I'd bled through my sleeve and caught Vincent Marchetti's attention, I felt something I'd thought I'd lost forever. Peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of someone who'd struggle alongside me. Not the erasure of trauma, but the belief that trauma didn't have to be my identity. Not the fairy tale ending where everything was perfect, but the real ending where imperfect people chose each other anyway. They say facing danger is how you get lost. I learned the opposite. It was only when I stopped looking away from the violence, from the truth, from my own capacity for courage, that I finally found myself. And what I found wasn't a victim who needed saving, or a survivor who'd clawed her way to freedom. It was a woman who'd learned that being seen, truly seen, was its own kind of salvation. That love didn't require perfection, just presence. That healing wasn't about forgetting what broke you, but about deciding the broken pieces could become something beautiful. Vincent didn't save me. We saved each other, and that, I finally understood, was the only kind of love worth having. The kind that made you braver, stronger, more yourself than you'd ever been alone. The kind that whispered, "You are enough, exactly as you are." The kind that promised, "I choose you, every day, for all the days we have." And that was everything.